Chapter 257. After taking the pill, Ning Shu slowly got up from the ground and looked at the woman with a veil on her face. This woman was quite ruthless. She couldn't even move and didn't have the strength to fight back, yet she still wanted to hit her when she was down. The middle-aged man standing in front of Ning Shu also had an ugly expression. He glanced at the cold and cheerless Sherhuidi, then turned his head and snorted coldly at Ning Shu, exasperated that she had failed to meet his expectations. Ning Shu was dumbfounded. She could only lower her head. Her body really hurt. Her heart was hurt. How did she become a man? A man's body, a woman's soul, a transvestite. Hongmen sect versus Tiandao sect. Hongmen sect's Grandmaster Huidi wins. The referee shouted. Ning Shu looked around. It was probably a competition between disciples of different sections. She was defeated by this woman called Sherhuidi. Looking at this woman, Ning Shu's heart was restless. This wasn't Ning Shu's feeling, but the reaction of this body. The middle-aged man saw Ning Shu's expression, and his face turned ugly. He poured out another pill from the jade bottle and stuffed it into Ning Shu's mouth. Go back to your room and heal yourself. If you don't cultivate properly in the future, this kind of shameful thing will happen again. Yes, Ning Shu responded. She had no idea where her room was, so she simply covered her chest and fell asleep on the ground, unable to get up. Ha! The crowd laughed again. The middle-aged man looked around coldly. Only then did the laughter die down. He ordered people to carry Ning Shu away. Ning Shu, who was carried to her room, was lying on the bed. She roared at 2333 in her mind. How did I become a man? I'm sorry. I located you wrongly. You know that I used a lot of energy to save you last time. 2333's voice was filled with guilt. Ning Shu, I'm short of breath. But this man is also a rebel. Since you transmigrated into his body, you should help him complete the task. 2333 said weakly. I don't want to talk anymore. I don't have any energy left. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu was at a loss. He was used to peeing while squatting. Suddenly, he had to stand up and take out something to pee. Ning Shu felt that he couldn't do it. With grief, anger and helplessness, Ning Shu began to accept the plot. This was a world of cultivation, where the strong were respected, and the weak were treated like dogs. The original owner was called Wei Liangyue, and people called him Prince Liangyue. His father was an elder of the Tiandao sect, and he was a true rich second generation. He had a lot of cultivation resources, but because of his powerful father, the original owner was always successful in the Tiandao sect. Even when he went out, people would give face to his father and not make things difficult for him. The original owner didn't like to cultivate at all. She was passionate about the matters between men and women. This kind of reputation spread out. Moreover, the original owner had a fiancé, Sherhuidi, who was on the stage before. The original owner really liked this fiancé. Sherhuidi looked like a human character. Even if the original owner had slept with so many women, he still liked Sherhuidi in his heart. However, the original owner was a useless man who relied on his father's protection. He was also a man who ruined many women. Sherhuidi hated this fiancé of hers. She even wanted to kill Wei Liangyue time and time again. This marriage was a marriage between the Hongmen sect and the Tiandao sect. To put it bluntly, Sherhuidi couldn't make the decision. However, she didn't want to marry such a man. The main character of this world was a male disciple of the Hongmen sect, Yiyu. He was a man with great luck. His cultivation was like a cheat. Moreover, he could kill people above his level. All the geniuses would be killed in an instant in front of him. All kinds of fortuitous encounters and magic treasures were piled up on him. An outstanding man would always have many women by his side. Even Sherhuidi was awed by the brilliance of this junior brother. Moreover, Yiyu loved every woman. He loved every woman. It was like he was collecting stamps. He took in all kinds of beauties and started the rhythm of a harem of 3,000 beauties. Yiyu also liked this cold and fairy-like Sherhuidi. When he found out that his senior sister's fiancé was such a man, he loved Sherhuidi very much. He gave all the cultivation treasures he obtained to Sherhuidi. At first, Sherhuidi refused. However, she was moved by Yiyu's words. Only when she was strong enough would she be able to escape from her fate. Sherhuidi hated that the original owner, Wei Liangyue, didn't work hard. She obviously had good cultivation resources, but she didn't care about anything. This world was very cruel. Without strength, there was no right to speak. The gap between her and Wei Liangyue would only get bigger and bigger. To put it bluntly, Sherhuidi was the bright moon in the sky, and Wei Liangyue was the mangy dog on the ground. When Wei Liangyue found out that his fiancée was entangled with another man, he immediately brought people to deal with Yi Yu. However, he was humiliated by Yi Yu every time. Then, all the equipment on his body was plundered by Yi Yu. Wei Liangyue was simply Yi Yu's gift boy. Wei Liangyue and Sherhuidi were finally going to get married. During the wedding, Yi Yu flew into a rage because of the beauty and snatched Sherhuidi away. Meanwhile, Sherhuidi, who was about to become his wife, was crying in another man's embrace. She looked as though she was moved beyond words. This made Wei Liangyue so angry that his liver hurt. Wei Liangyue's father was very protective of his son. When he saw his son being humiliated, he wanted to kill Yi Yu. However, who was Yi Yu? He had divine artifacts, divine beasts, and all kinds of trump cards. Wei Liangyue's father, who had underestimated his opponent, was heavily injured. He snatched the bride in front of the Heavenly Dao sect, and heavily injured an elder of the Heavenly Dao sect. This was simply slapping the Heavenly Dao sect's face. How would they still have the face to stay in the cultivation world? Therefore, he wanted to kill Yi Yu. No matter how powerful Yi Yu was, he was just a powerful junior. He couldn't be compared to an old ghost who had cultivated for a long time. When he was surrounded by so many people, Yi Yu was injured. In the end, he had to rely on his trump card to escape with Sherhuidi. Before he left, he even said that he would come back and destroy the sanctimonious Heavenly Dao sect. This marriage was ruined just like that. Wei Liangyue became a joke. His father was heavily injured. Yi Yu was very insidious, causing Wei Liangyue's father to die not long after. From then on, the original owner had no one to rely on in the Heavenly Dao sect. Those who flattered him in the past were now looking at him with cold eyes. How much they flattered him in the past was how much they mocked and trampled on him now. Wei Liangyue had tasted the warmth and coldness of the world. At this time, he wanted to cultivate diligently. However, he realized that he didn't have any cultivation resources. Cultivation was originally a path that went against the heavens. Wei Liangyue's aptitude wasn't that good. It was simply a fool's dream to want to find Yi Yu, who was better at cultivation. Only then did Wei Liangyue realize that without his father's protection, he couldn't even take a single step. When Yi Yu came back to take revenge, Wei Liangyue was eliminated by Yi Yu with a raise of his hand. It was as easy as blowing off dust. Looking at Sherhuidi, who was standing together with Yi Yu, he shed tears of regret. He had lost everything for a woman. He lost his father, his woman ran away with someone else, and his former underlings were bullying him. Ningxu lit a candle for this girl. Chapter 258. Wei Liangyue's wish. I don't want my father to die. His father lost his life because of him. He let down his father who loved him dearly. Ningxu looked at this wish. It was only true between his father and family. There was no mention of revenge or Sherhuidi. The person that the original owner regretted the most was his father. Actually, this Wei Liangyue was just a small cannon fodder. He was just a small stumbling block on the male lead's path to glory. He was just a bug that prevented the male lead from hugging the beauty. He just needed to stomp him to death. Ningxu sat up and started cultivating according to the original owner's memory. The original owner encountered all these things because he wasn't strong enough. If he was strong enough, Sherhuidi wouldn't have abandoned the original owner and thrown herself into the male lead's embrace. She would have shared a husband with someone else. Sherhuidi was such a proud person, yet she actually shared a husband with someone else. Only strength was everything. When he circulated his qi, his meridians were very difficult, and his chest was very painful. Ningxu clutched his chest. Sherhuidi was quite ruthless. However, Ningxu stood from a woman's point of view and could understand Sherhuidi. Marrying such a notorious second generation was like jumping into a fire pit. It was the original owner's fault for not living up to expectations. His chest was very painful. Ning Shu gave up on cultivating and lay on the bed to sleep. He was really too tired. Ning Shu was awakened by the urge to pee. When he opened his eyes, he saw a person standing at the bedside. Ning Shu didn't think of attacking this man. Damn, I was sleeping, and you were actually watching from the side. Too horrifying. Ning Shu suddenly punched out, but the middle-aged man grabbed his fist. He couldn't pull it back no matter how hard he tried. Stinking brat, you're capable now. You actually attacked your father. When facing Sherhuidi, you're acting like a coward. Useless thing. Wei Ming said in a bad mood. Ning Shu just remembered that he was a man. His bladder felt uncomfortable. Ning Shu said with a twisted face. Father, can you leave first? Your son wants to go to the toilet. Then go to the toilet. Your father raised you since you were young. What place haven't you seen? Wei Ming sat on the chair. Ning Shu was speechless. She couldn't urinate in front of a man. Ning Shu felt like his bladder was about to explode. In the end, he left the room and found a secluded place. Trembling, he took out something and peed. After peeing, Ning Shu quickly fastened his pants and washed his hands many times. When he touched something soft, Ning Shu felt that his pure hands were going to rot. Ning Shu returned to his room and saw Wei Ming drinking tea. Wei Ming was tall and had the aura of an expert. Ning Shu walked in front of Wei Ming and said directly, Father, I want to break off the engagement with Sherhuidi. Ning Shu decided to generously help these two people. If they didn't get married, Yi wouldn't come to steal the bride, and Wei Ming wouldn't be injured by Yi. Wei Ming's expression froze as he sized up Ning Shu. Brat, have you been beaten silly by Sherhuidi? Don't you like that girl a lot? She hates me. During the competition, she wanted to kill me. If it wasn't for the soft armor father gave me, I would have been killed by her. Ning Shu shook his head. She doesn't like me. Wei Ming slammed the table looking angry. I said that Sherhuidi is arrogant and not suitable for you. But you like her. The Rainbow Sect wants the Heavenly Dao Sect to develop the Yuan Crystal vein. So they made this engagement. Yuan Crystal is a cultivation item in this world. It contains Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi. Cultivators absorb Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi. Yuan Crystal vein is related to the rise and fall of a sect. This woman is vicious and merciless. Sooner or later, you will fall in the hands of this woman. As he said this, Wei Ming glared at Ning Shu as if he expected better from her. Don't mess around with the impure female disciples of the sect. Ning Shu. Then what about my engagement with Sherhuidi? Ning Shu was concerned about whether he could break off the engagement. Fighting with the male lead for a woman, he was simply impatient to die. Wei Ming looked at Ning Shu seriously. How can marriage be so trivial? If you want to break off the engagement, then break off the engagement. Ning Shu opened his eyes wide and asked Wei Ming, what should I do? Anyway, I don't want to be beaten by that woman Sherhuidi. I'll go talk to the sect leader and see what the sect leader has to say. Wei Ming sighed. When you have nothing to do, you should cultivate more. Sherhuidi doesn't like you because you are useless. A man is despised by a woman. You don't feel embarrassed. Okay, Dad. My chest hurts. Do you still have medicine? Saying that his chest hurt to a man, this feeling was really good. When Wei Ming heard that his son's chest hurt, he directly pulled open Ning Shu's clothes. Ning Shu jumped in fright and hurriedly covered his chest, shouting, What are you doing? Why are you covering your chest like a woman? Dad, let me see what's wrong with your chest. Wei Ming said unhappily, Ning Shu. Damn, he felt like his 3 views were being challenged. Ning Shu put down his hand and looked down to see a clear palm print on his chest. No wonder his chest hurt so much. Wei Ming's expression was ugly as he coldly said, Sherhuidi is really ruthless. Useless thing. Every time I see this woman, my legs go soft. Wei Ming gave Ning Shu a bottle of pills. Ning Shu took the bottle and pitifully said to Wei Ming, Dad, I don't want to be beaten to death by Sherhuidi. You must break off the engagement for your son. Ning Shu's eyes were red, and he almost cried. The original owner acted like a spoiled child in front of his father like this. How did I give birth to a thing like you? It's all because I spoiled you too much. From tomorrow onwards, you are not allowed to take a single step out of your room. Only when you become a spirit master can you come out. When that time comes, Dad will get you a contract beast. Ning Shu made an O sound. In this world, there were many spirit beasts and even mythical beasts. With a contracted spirit beast, one's battle strength would be even stronger. For example, the male lead, Yi Yu, had a mythical beast. It was very powerful, but Yi Yu was very low-key. Usually, he would let the mythical beast disguise itself as a trash spirit beast, so that it could pretend to be a pig to eat the tiger. Dad, don't forget about the engagement. Ning Shu shouted at Wei Ming's back. Wei Ming's strength was very strong. In the entire Tiandao sect, he was ranked at the top. Otherwise, how could Wei Liangyue, this second-generation ancestor, be like a fish in water in Tiandao sect? Wherever he went, there would be lackeys behind him. Ning Shu poured out a fragrant pill from the jade bottle and swallowed it. He felt a cool flow of energy in his body slowly healing his body. He used the little energy in his body to dissolve the pill. When the pill's effect disappeared, he stuffed another pill into his mouth. During this period of time, Ning Shu did not go out. He hid in his room to heal and cultivate. During this time, Wei Ming came to see his son. When he saw that his son was actually cultivating honestly, and did not fool around with women, he was so shocked that his eyeballs almost fell out. He understood his son. He could not endure even a little bit of hardship. Now that he was willing to calm down and cultivate, it seemed like he was really stimulated by Shihuidi. Chapter 259. Ning Shu really felt that this body's aptitude wasn't that good. Even after cultivating for a long time, and receiving the crystals from Wei Ming, he still hadn't broken through to Spirit Master. Spirit Apostle, Spirit Master, Spirit Overlord. There were many more levels above that. But the original owner was just a beginner Spirit Apostle. He was so low that he actually dared to compete with Shihuidi, who was a few levels higher than him. He was really looking for trouble. Could it be that he wanted to get closer to the goddess? It was too boring to stay in the room, so Ning Shu decided to go out for a walk. As soon as he went out, there were people greeting him and asking him if his injuries were better. Ning Shu looked at these people with disdain and ridicule, all kinds of envy, jealousy, and hatred. However, his words were very sincere. These people all knew that Wei Liangyue was generous and wanted to curry favor with him to get cultivation resources from him. Ning Shu felt that the original owner was quite pitiful. Only strength, great strength, could make others respect him. Even though the original owner was like a child that spread wealth in the Tiandao sect, he didn't make any true friends. Instead, others treated him like a fool. Also, because of Wei Ming, many people wanted to curry favor with him. It could be said that Wei Liangyue was living in a fake world. With Wei Ming's death, Wei Liangyue fell into the cruel reality. Along the way, he met female disciples. Some of them looked at Ning Shu with extreme disgust, while others looked at Ning Shu flirtatiously. They lifted their skirts to reveal their slender white thighs. They were just short of directly saying to Ning Shu, "Handsome, do you want to date?" Ning Shu's mood was very complicated. One day, he would be seduced by a woman. After wandering around, Ning Shu still felt that he should go back and cultivate. Facing all kinds of gazes, Ning Shu felt very stifled. Sitting on the bed, Ning Shu looked at the crystals in his hand. These crystals were a kind of transparent stone that contained impurities. They contained heaven-earth yuan qi that could be directly absorbed by people. Ning Shu suddenly thought of 2333's excessive energy consumption. This kind of heaven-earth yuan qi was also a kind of energy. He didn't know if it would be useful to 2333. 2333 system, sir. Can you see if this crystal's energy is useful to you? Ning Shu called out in his heart. The energy level is too low. Thank you for your kindness. 2333 said directly. His disdain was obvious. Ning Shu, fuck. He felt as if he was asking to be humiliated. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have asked. Ning Shu, moi. If there is a suitable energy source, I will let you know. 2333 quickly said. Ning Shu absorbed the yuan qi from the crystal. After a long time, Ning Shu finally broke through the barrier of a spirit master and became a weak spirit master. The current Ning Shu could only be considered a beginner in cultivation. The yuan qi in his body would disappear after releasing a big move. After breaking through to spirit master, Ning Shu continued to cultivate. Wei Ming couldn't protect her all the time. If she was too weak, she could be killed in an instant if she wasn't careful. Then her mission would fail. Wei Ming came over and saw that his son had finally become a spirit master. He was comforted and released a spirit beast from the spirit beast bag. Ning Shu said, "This will be your contract beast from now on." Ning Shu looked at the large eagle that was almost as tall as a person. It had a sharp beak and a pair of sharp eyes looking at Ning Shu. She didn't know if it was an illusion, but Ning Shu felt that the bird looked at her with disdain. Being disdained by others was one thing, but being disdained by a bird was another. "Dad, this is my contract beast." Ning Shu pointed at the large eagle. The image of the one-armed hero Yang Guo cuddling with the large eagle appeared in her mind. She didn't want a large eagle. Wei Ming patted the large eagle's closed wings and said, "This is a flash wind eagle. It has a trace of the ancient Kunping's bloodline and is very fast. If you encounter any danger, the flash wind eagle can carry you and escape." It seemed that Old Man Wei also knew what kind of character his son was. The contract beasts he prepared were all used for escape. Cold Moon, release your spiritual power and imprint it in the flash wind eagle's consciousness. Old Man Wei said to Ning Shu as he helped Ning Shu control the flash wind eagle that might resist. Ning Shu asked Old Man Wei with a confused face, "How do I do it?" She really didn't know how to contract a spirit beast. She had never experienced this kind of world before. Moreover, the original owner didn't have any knowledge in this area. Old Man Wei's old face suddenly darkened. "I told you not to mess around with women. You don't even know this kind of basic knowledge. If you embarrass yourself like this again in the future, don't say that you are my son. Concentrate and imprint your consciousness in the flash wind eagle's consciousness." It was so abstract. Ning Shu was still a little confused, but she still focused her mind. Then she thought about contracting this spirit beast. Then a red dot and a white dot appeared in her consciousness. The two small balls of light resisted each other. Ning Shu controlled the white dot and merged it with the red dot with difficulty. She immediately felt that she had a connection with the flash wind eagle and could do anything she wanted. It was as if she was ordering her arm. However, Ning Shu was exhausted. Her whole body was covered in cold sweat, as if she had just been fished out of the water. When Old Man Wei saw that Ning Shu had finally succeeded, he smiled. However, when he saw Ning Shu's sorry state, he immediately said in a bad mood, "Look at you. You are really embarrassing your father." Okay, it was quite embarrassing. Keep this spirit beast bag. The flash wind eagle is usually in this bag. The flash wind eagle also needs to eat. If you have nothing to do, you can let it out and let it find its own food. If you find any good treasures, give it some to eat. It will be of great help to you when it grows stronger. Old Man Wei instructed Ning Shu. Ning Shu nodded. He took the spirit beast bag and opened it. He pointed at the flash wind eagle that was standing there motionlessly and said, "Go in." However, the flash wind eagle ignored Ning Shu. It still stood there motionlessly and stared at Ning Shu. "Go in," Ning Shu said again. "Aya." Old Man Wei slapped his forehead. Looking at Ning Shu's stupid appearance, he simply didn't know what to say. Directly giving orders to a spirit beast in your consciousness. I really want to turn you into a disgraceful brat. I should have shot you into the wall back then. Ning Shu, is it really okay to say such dirty words in front of your son? He had never entered this kind of world before. There was always a process of adapting to new things. Every time he entered a new world, it felt like he had to rebuild his worldview. Ning Shu gave the order to the flash wind eagle in his consciousness. Then, the flash wind eagle turned into a ray of light and entered the spirit beast bag. Ning Shu shook the spirit beast bag. The flash wind eagle that was so heavy and tall entered the bag, but the bag was still so light. It felt quite magical. Hanging the spirit beast bag on his waist, Ning Shu asked Old Man Wei, "Dad, how is the engagement between Sherhuidi and I? What did the sect leader say?" This matter can be taken slowly. Although it is an engagement, the two sects are sincere in their cooperation. If we break off the engagement like this, the Hongmen sect will think that we want to tear up the agreement, Old Man Wei said. Then he said to Ning Shu, "You brat, why are you so useless?" Ning Shu, I. Chapter 260. When Ning Shu heard that this matter was hopeless, he immediately felt bad. He quickly asked Old Man Wei, "Can't we cancel the engagement?" "It's impossible to cancel the engagement for no reason. The Hongmen sect will definitely demand an explanation. Then our Tiandao sect will be at a disadvantage. It will be very difficult for us to cooperate," Wei Ming said. He was an elder of the Tiandao sect and had to consider the interests of the Tiandao sect. However, when he thought of his only son being beaten up by his fiancée, he couldn't help but feel angry. Sherhuidi was beautiful and talented. She was proud and arrogant. Even if Old Man Wei lied with his eyes wide open, he couldn't boast that his son was a top expert. Well, Ning Shu also knew that canceling the engagement was a bit difficult. He immediately said indignantly, "The Hongmen sect is much weaker than our Tiandao sect. Why do we need to cooperate to dig the Yuan crystal vein? We can dig it ourselves. Your table manners are too ugly. You won't go far." Old Man Wei patted Ning Shu's shoulder, causing half of Ning Shu's body to tilt. "Your father will deal with this matter. I can't let Sherhuidi bully you like this. Useless thing. You were beaten up by a woman, and you still need me to step in. The 18 generations of Wei clan's ancestors have all been lost by you." Ning Shu's expression didn't change as he listened to Old Man Wei's words. He only said, "I will definitely work hard and not lose face for you. In any case, it's impossible between me and Sherhuidi. My talent isn't very good. Sherhuidi is walking in front of me. Sooner or later, I will be left behind by her." Old Man Wei nodded his head in relief, and then left. He left Ning Shu a lot of yuan crystals, and told Ning Shu to work hard in his cultivation. Ning Shu began a life of cultivation that didn't leave the house. The only thing that was more distressing was going to the toilet. Every time he couldn't hold it in. His bladder was about to burst. Although there was a psychological barrier, at least he didn't have his period. But after so many years of having her period disappear just like that, she always felt like she owed something in her heart. It was painful when her period came, but when it didn't, she kept thinking about it. She was so cheap. Ning Shu was too lazy to complain about the original owner's aptitude. Even if she cultivated non-stop all day long, her progress was still very slow. Ning Shu relied on Old Man Wei's love, and ran to ask Old Man Wei for a heavenly treasure that could change one's aptitude. The results of her one day of cultivation were not even comparable to the results of the male lead's one breath of time. The gap between them was like a chasm between heaven and earth. It was truly heartbreaking. Old Man Wei roared at Ning Shu. "Do you think heavenly materials and earthly treasures that can change one's aptitude are cabbages? If I had such a thing, I would have fed it to you long ago." Ning Shu. "Even Old Man Wei doesn't have such a thing? Yi Yu probably has it." Yi Yu's heaven-defying aptitude was accumulated from luck and fortuitous encounters. He definitely has a heavenly treasure that can change one's aptitude. But she couldn't beat the male lead. Was she supposed to let her father fight him? The reason she broke off the engagement was to prevent her father from coming into contact with Yi Yu. She was afraid that Old Man Wei would be injured by Yi Yu and steal the male lead's equipment. In the end, he would be killed by the male lead and give the equipment to the male lead. Her heart was so tired. It felt like she had been abandoned by the world. After a while, a secret realm will open. It's probably a senful left behind by ancient cultivators. There are many things inside. Every sect will send their disciples in. When the time comes, I'll leave a spot for you. Go in and see if you're lucky enough to bump into a spirit herb that can change one's aptitude. Bump into it? Usually, she would bump into the male lead's arms. How could she bump into a cannon fodder? Am I going alone? Ning Shu looked expectantly at Old Man Wei with dark circles under her eyes. "Old man, will you come with me? You won't be able to enter if your cultivation is too high." Old Man Wei rolled his eyes at Ning Shu. "Don't worry. Other than the other disciples in Tiandao sect, I'll let the others take care of you." It was better to rely on herself than on others. What's more, if she encountered any treasures in the secret realm, not only would they protect her, they might even kill their fellow sect members. Cultivation was unscrupulous, plundering the heavens and earth to replenish oneself. But Ning Shu still had to go. Cultivation was about not advancing or falling behind. One had to be strong enough to survive and complete the mission. Old man, does this senfu not have an owner? Ningxu asked. No. All these years, no one has taken this senfu. Every sect has treated this senfu as a training ground for their disciples. Old man Wei looked at Ningxu. Once you enter, you must protect your own life no matter what. Old man, I know. Ningxu nodded. He inexplicably felt that this senfu should be the male lead's fortuitous encounter. The male lead would take this senfu. If he could destroy Yi Yu's fortuitous encounter, that would be good too. Yi Yu hated the original owner for killing his father and stealing his wife. Although the original owner didn't ask for revenge, if he could do something for the original owner, the points would be higher. For the rest of the time, Ningxu persevered in cultivation every day. While he was at it, he also cultivated a peerless martial art. In his body, a coiling dragon-like chi force was formed. The chi force and the chi force in his body each occupied a space in his dantian. They did not invade each other. This made Ningxu feel that the chi force and the chi force were like spiritual chi. In order to prepare for the secret realm, Ningxu made a lot of preparations. He even filled his storage bag with hidden weapons and poisons. During this time, Ningxu let out the flash wind eagle whenever he had nothing to do. He fed it with qijing crystals or spirit herbs with abundant qijing. Under Ningxu's feeding, the flash wind eagle finally changed its attitude towards Ningxu. However, it still looked down on Ningxu's strength. Strength was very important. The cultivation world followed the law of the jungle. The strong were respected. Strength was the truth. Even a spirit beast looked down on him. When he reached the secret realm, he must find a heavenly treasure that could change his aptitude. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to escape the plot. Although his aptitude was poor, Ningxu still cultivated day and night. At least he would gain something from his cultivation and slowly become stronger. A month later, when the secret realm opened, Old Man Wei came to pick up Ningxu. The first thing he said was, "Your engagement with Sherhuidi has been annulled." Ningxu didn't react for a moment. It was annulled so easily, so fast. Ningxu only felt empty in his heart. The original Ningxu still liked the Sherhuidi. When he heard the news, his body reacted like this. Old Man Wei rolled his eyes at Ningxu. For this matter, you know the price your father has to pay. Your father has to mine for 50 years. Ningxu. Buffed. Father, you are an elder. How could you be sent to mine? Ningxu quickly asked with an anxious expression. Seeing his son's concerned expression, Old Man Wei's expression softened. He said, "Your father gave a set of cultivation methods to the Rainbow Sect. He also has to guard the Qijing crystal vein for 50 years. Ningxu suddenly felt uncomfortable. Old Man Wei really loved his son. His son said that he wanted to annul the engagement and paid the price. Although the original Ningxu's aptitude wasn't good, his father's love for him was the only warmth in his sad life. Therefore, he didn't want revenge, nor did he want Sherhuidi. He only wanted his father to live. Ningxu slightly forced back the tears in his body. He said to Old Man Wei, "Father, thank you." Chapter 261. Ningxu didn't expect that Old Man Wei would make such a sacrifice in order to break off the engagement. He was even punished by the sect to guard the crystal vein. Old Man Wei waved his hand. "Don't think that I didn't see that Rainbow Sect looked down on you. They wanted to break off the engagement, but they were afraid that they wouldn't get a share of the crystal vein. So they dragged it out. I gave them a cultivation method, but they weren't satisfied. In a fit of anger, I said that I wanted to bring forward the wedding date, so that you two could quickly get married." The fact that the Rainbow Gate had pulled out their most talented and promising female disciple for a marriage alliance showed that they cared a lot about this Yuan crystal vein. But if they really married their most promising female disciple to Wei Liangyue who had accomplished nothing, the people of the Rainbow Gate would still feel heartache. Now that Old Man Wei proposed to break off the engagement, he gave Rainbow Sect face. After receiving benefits from Old Man Wei, he still acted like a victim. It was a bit annoying, but at least now it had nothing to do with Sherhuidi. Whether she wanted to be with Yi Yu or Yi Yi, it had nothing to do with her. Thinking that he was going to marry a woman, even if it was a peerless beauty, Ningxu still felt goosebumps all over his body. Take off your clothes. Old Man Wei said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu immediately covered his chest. What are you doing? Old Man Wei frowned. What are you doing? What's wrong with you recently? Always acting like a shy woman. Did you get beaten silly by Sherhuidi? Ning Shu immediately put down his hand and coughed. Why are you taking off your clothes? Old Man Wei took out a soft armor as thin as a cicada's wing from his storage bag and threw it to Ning Shu. Wear this. It was made by your martial uncle. It should be able to avoid some injuries. Thank you, father. In order to show off his heroic and manly temperament, Ning Shu stripped his upper body in front of Old Man Wei and put on the soft armor. Let's go. The others are waiting. When we reach the secret realm, we must be careful. Old Man Wei walked in front. Ning Shu followed behind him and asked, Father, is guarding the mine tiring? It's all right, it's just a little trivial. Old Man Wei said indifferently. Managing these things should be a waste of energy, and Old Man Wei wouldn't have time to cultivate. Father, why don't you plead with the sect to not guard the mine? It will affect your cultivation. Father Wei turned around and watched Ning Shu as he raised his eyebrows, saying, Brat, it's my first time to hear you say such sweet words to your father. Actually, your father is in a bottleneck. No matter how hard I cultivate, I'd better stop cultivating and do something else. Let nature take its course. Really? Ning Shu was in disbelief. How could it be fake? Old Man Wei said carelessly. Ning Shu thought that if Old Man Wei went to guard the pulse, he would definitely not be involved in this bullshit matter. It was a good result. As they spoke, they arrived at the plaza. There were many disciples gathered there, and a few of them were standing together. There were 4 men and 2 women. The surrounding disciples looked at the 6 of them with respect. Ning Shu knew from the original owner's memories that these 6 people were the more powerful disciples of the Tiandao sect. Each of them had a decent cultivation, unlike Wei Liangyue, who was just an embroidered pillow. Wei Liangyue knew that his cultivation wasn't high, so he didn't interact with these people. Moreover, these people always looked down on Wei Liangyue because of their high cultivation. Wei Liangyue must be crazy to come in front of these people. These people are going to the secret realm. You should follow them. Old Man Wei said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu walked over, and the few of them took a few steps back. When the 2 female disciples looked at Ning Shu, their eyes were filled with undisguised disdain and vigilance. Ning Shu, that it seemed like he would have to carry this title until he died. Wei Liangyue, this damn brat, was really courting death. No matter where he went, the female disciples looked at him as if he was a pervert. This feeling was really strange. Old Man Wei asked the leading elder to take care of his son. The elder nodded. When they boarded the spirit ship, Old Man Wei pulled Ning Shu and said, Nothing is more important than your life. If you encounter something that you can't solve, just sit on the Flash Wind Eagle's back and run. Father, I will remember. I will definitely come back alive, Ning Shu said seriously. However, Old Man Wei's face was still filled with worry. When the spirit ship was far away, Ning Shu saw Old Man Wei standing at the plaza and looking at him. To have such a father was really a blessing from 8 lifetimes. The leading elder, Ning Shu, said, Although I don't know why your father let this good-for-nothing go to the secret realm, it's good. You should know that cultivation is difficult. If you continue like this, your cultivation won't be enough. When the time comes, you will die in front of your father and let him send you off. Ning Shu sweated. Everyone really didn't like Wei Liangyue. However, Wei Liangyue didn't feel anything. He just muddled along and was happy. Thank you, elder. Liangyue understands. Ning Shu nodded. Ning Shu sat on a chair in the cabin. She was surrounded by a kind of vacuum, especially the 2 female disciples. They stayed far away from her, as if they would lose their chastity if they stayed close to her. The original owner didn't force any of the women. It was all consensual, just like the female disciples of the sect. If they sent themselves to his door, Wei Liangyue would be stupid not to take them. In the end, he would give them some cultivation resources. It was a matter of mutual benefit. However, he didn't expect his reputation to be so bad. The main reason was that he was engaged to Hongmen sect's female god teacher, Hui Di. This made Wei Liangyue even more unsightly. Brother, I heard you and Hungmin Sek's Shuhui broke off the engagement. A round-faced man came over and asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu knew from his memory that this person was called Lu Qinyang. His cultivation was ranked in the top few disciples of Tiandao sect. How do you know? How did the news spread? Could it be Hungmin sect? No way. Shuhui was a girl after all. Breaking off the engagement wasn't something glorious. Lu Qinyang opened his eyes wide and asked, "You really broke off the engagement? Did you break it on your own accord?" Lu Qinyang's words attracted the attention of several disciples. Ning Shu nodded and said, "I did break off the engagement with Shuhui. Oh my. I said at the beginning that the marriage between you and Shuhui was going to break off. Hungmin sect wouldn't let such an outstanding disciple like Shuhui marry you. It was completely a stopgap measure." Lu Qinyang slapped his thigh and excitedly said, "Now everyone has a chance. It's also because you are not worthy of her." Lu Qinyang didn't care about Ning Shu's feelings, and directly said the truth. Ning Shu's heart was filled with anger. This was the original owner's emotion. Ning Shu said with an indifferent expression, "Even if I am not worthy of Shuhui, it is because I broke off the engagement with Shuhui." Chapter 262. Brother, in my opinion, you should have broken off the engagement long ago. Shuhui clearly doesn't like you, but you can still save some face by breaking off the engagement. Although Lu Qinyang said this, his tone was filled with schadenfreude. Obviously, he looked down on Ning Shu. Ning Shu felt that these people were just envious and jealous. She was just a useless second generation, who relied on her father to get such a beautiful fiancé that men could only dream of. Now that she had broken off the engagement, they were mocking her. If you have the ability, you should have a father like Old Man Wei. Reincarnation is also a skill. Ning Shu closed his eyes, not wanting to talk to these people. Even if Shuhui didn't like Wei Liangyue, did these people have a chance? The beauty was reserved for the male lead. Lu Qinyang saw Ning Shu like this, and gave up talking to him. A man beside him frowned and said to Lu Qinyang, "Why are you talking to him for no reason?" That's right. Even if he enters the secret realm, he will only drag us down." A female disciple glanced at Ning Shu, and said with disdain. Ning Shu opened his eyes, and looked at the female disciple who spoke. "When did I say that I want to go with you? Can't I go by myself?" Ning Shu never intended to follow these people. Although they were disciples of the same sect, it didn't mean that they could be trusted, especially when these 6 people hated him so much. A look of disdain flashed across the female disciple's face. "With your strength, entering the secret realm is just courting death. Any iron-teeth rabbit in the secret realm can deal with you. I didn't ask you for help. What are you talking about, bitch?" Ning Shu didn't do anything to this female disciple. It was as if he had raped her. How bad was the original owner's reputation? Wasn't it because some people in the Heavenly Dao sect were jealous of the original owner? Wei Liangyue was indeed unrestrained in the matters between men and women, but he wasn't a vicious pervert who would eat any female. The female disciple was angered by Ning Shu's words. "You dare to talk to me like that, a low-level cultivator? My father is Wei Ming. If you're not convinced, you can go and find my father." Ning Shu was now a genuine hedonistic son. The female disciple was so angry that her chest heaved as she glared at Ning Shu. Ning Shu immediately felt refreshed. He knew that these women didn't like him. Ning Shu, who was hiding far away, pretended not to see them and didn't care. However, if they had to step on others to prove how pure they were, Ning Shu couldn't stand it. "Sai, it's all because of strength. Alright, we're all disciples of the Heavenly Dao sect. There's no need to make our relationship so tense. Wei Liangyue, your strength isn't enough, and you need to rely on your companions to save you. Don't talk nonsense." The leading elder, Ning Shu, said. Clearly he was reminding Ning Shu. Ning Shu grinned at the captain, but didn't say anything. The other 6 disciples of the Heavenly Dao sect were even more unfriendly towards Ning Shu, but Ning Shu didn't care. Half a day later, they arrived at the entrance of the secret territory. There were already many people at the entrance of the secret territory. Each sect was clearly divided, waiting for the secret territory to open. When Ning Shu got off the spirit ship, he heard a very coquettish female voice. "Big pervert, You actually dare to appear. The surrounding people immediately snickered and jeered. Big pervert, big pervert. The disciples of the Heavenly Tao sect immediately distanced themselves from Ning Shu, acting as if they didn't know Ning Shu at all. Ning Shu still hadn't figured out what was going on. He looked at the coquettish girl in front of him. She was full of vitality, and had a bell on her wrist that jingled. Who are you? Ning Shu looked at the proud girl and said in a bad mood. Why wouldn't I dare to come? Is this place your home? Big pervert, you actually dared to break off the engagement with senior sister. I'm going to take revenge for senior sister today. The girl was filled with righteous indignation. A piece of trash like you actually dared to break off the engagement. Ning Shu was speechless. He looked around and saw Sherhuidi not far away. She was dressed in white with a veil covering her face. She was cold, and there was an imposing and handsome man standing beside her. Ning Shu didn't need to guess to know that this should be the male lead, Yiyu. It wasn't enough to just be strong. He had to have a handsome face that women couldn't resist. He had to be the male lead with his own BG background music. Sherhuidi glanced at Ning Shu. Her eyes were indifferent as if she didn't know Ning Shu. Ning Shu didn't care. On the other hand, Yiyu sized up Ning Shu, and then revealed a look of disdain. He then moved close to Sherhuidi's ear and said something. His actions seemed very intimate. Facing Yiyu's intimate actions, Sherhuidi moved to the side uncomfortably. She seemed to be a little shy. Hey big pervert, what are you looking at? Now that senior sister is no longer your fiancé, if you look again, I'll dig your eyes out. The girl Ning Shu fiercely shouted. Ning Shu looked at the girl. Your senior sister didn't say anything. Why are you in such a hurry to stand up for others? So what if I break off the engagement? If I don't break off the engagement, should I wait to be beaten to death by the disciples of your rainbow sect? Ning Shu curled his lips. He walked around the girl and prepared to leave. The girl stopped Ning Shu again. At least you know what's good for you. Even if you want to break off the engagement, it should be my senior sister. Ning Shu was speechless. Then why didn't your senior sister break off the engagement? We've been engaged for such a long time. If she wanted to break off the engagement, why didn't she say so? Ning Shu stared at the girl and asked. The girl was a little speechless. She then said, this is the decision of the sect. Senior sister can't make the decision herself. Then she can't make the decision. I propose to break off the engagement. Why are you looking for trouble with me? What do you want people to do? Send you to your death. Ning Shu was really fed up. Don't act like you're a good girl. You're a whore, but you still want to set up a monument to your chastity. Who took advantage of this matter? The girl was so angry that her face turned red. She pointed at Ning Shu. Who are you calling a whore? If I don't destroy you, I won't be called Yin Jiao. Ning Shu sneered. Your man is flirting with another woman. You're actually standing up for your love rival. Why are you so stupid? What man? What love rival? I don't know what you're talking about. Yin Jiao couldn't help but look at Yiyu. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Sure enough, this hot-tempered girl like Yiyu, this girl with a proud mouth and an upright body, was obviously a member of the male lead's harem. Senior brother Yiyu is such a good person. Of course there are many who like him. If senior sister likes senior brother Yiyu, I can't be happier. At least I won't have to marry a big pervert like you. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu was completely unable to understand this woman, who was illuminated by the protagonist's aura. This kind of strange situation where she didn't have any resistance to sharing a man, and instead got along harmoniously with the harem. He couldn't understand it even if he racked his brains. Generally speaking, the male lead's ability to ux was very strong. These harem women enjoyed it painfully, and very much wanted a woman to share it with them. Therefore, these women didn't blame Yiyu at all for taking in a harem. Instead, they were happy to have sisters. What a strange way of thinking. Chapter 263. Ning Shu didn't want to pay attention to this little girl, so he walked around Yin Jiao and left. Yiyu walked over and put his hand on Ning Shu's shoulder. Yiyu's hand was very heavy, making Ning Shu almost unable to control himself and kneel down. Senior brother, aren't you being too rude to a girl? Yiyu lightly said. Every girl should be protected and loved. Senior brother Yi, Yin Jiao shouted towards Yiyu. This person is too hateful. Ningshu looked at Yiyu. He had sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes, but his eyes were flashing with coldness and killing intent. This killing intent was directed towards her. Fuck, so heavy, I'm about to kneel down. Ningshu suddenly wailed and fell to the ground with a plop. His face was twisted in pain. He pointed at Yiyu and shouted, "You're so vicious, you actually used underhanded methods on me. You almost broke my shoulder." Yiyu looked at his own hand and saw many people looking at him. Seeing this useless trash rolling on the ground in pain, his expression was very disdainful. Truly a useless thing. Fortunately, Huidi didn't marry such a man. Otherwise her life would be ruined. Hungman's sect's disciple attacked my heavenly Dao sect's disciple for no reason. Do you want to provoke a fight between our two sects? The heavenly Dao sect's leading elder coldly asked Yiyu. Yiyu was a proud person, so he immediately said, "I didn't attack him. As long as you peel off his clothes, you will know." "Elder, I was injured by this person's origin chi. It hurts." Ningshu struggled to get up from the ground and pitifully said to the elder. The elder gave Ningshu a dan. "Does Hungman's sect want to become enemies with our heavenly Dao sect?" The leading elder watched from the side and also saw the Hungman sect's male disciple make a move. "Martial uncle, this is just a joke that junior brother Yi is playing with your sect's disciples. He doesn't have any intention of fighting." The incomparably cold Sherhuidi came over. She first gave a junior's salute to the leading elder and said, "Cold moon." The leading elder looked at Ningshu. After all, this was a matter between the younger generation. If he interfered too much, he would lose his bearing. At this moment, the disciples of the Tiandao sect came over. Ningshu said, "Wei Liangyue, forget it. It's not a big deal. Senior apprentice sister, Huidi has already explained the matter clearly." Another disciple also said, while glancing at Sherhuidi. Ningshu was speechless. "Big bitch, are you trying to get entangled with senior sister? There's clearly nothing going on, yet you're being so serious. Are you even a man? Nothing's going on, yet you're rolling on the ground." Yin Jiao said snappily. "I'm not a man, you're a man." Ningshu and Yin Jiao rolled their eyes. "Sister, don't be so silly. You don't even know that you've been sold. Who are you calling sister? Who is your sister? If you call me sister again, I'll tear your mouth apart." Yin Jiao said unruly. "See, you can't even grasp the main point." Ningshu clutched his chest and said, "I'm really injured. I see that the storage pouch on senior apprentice brother Ye's waist is not bad. Give it to me to play with." Ningshu looked at the storage pouch on Yiyu's waist. Who knows how many good things were inside. Yiyu was a southern bamboo monarch with many treasures all over his body. Yiyu used his hand to press on the storage pouch on his waist. His expression was cold as he looked at Ningshu's wretched appearance. He almost couldn't resist the urge to instantly kill this disgusting person. "This is for you. It's a very good healing pill." Sherhuidi took out a bottle of pills and threw it to Ningshu. "These pills are enough to heal your injuries." Ningshu took the pills that Sherhuidi threw over. He opened it and smelled it. "It's really good stuff. Thank you, great beauty." Sherhuidi's expression became extremely cold. She was clearly angered by Ningshu's flirtatious tone. Moreover, Sherhuidi found that this man was not sad at all after breaking off the engagement. He looked at her with a very strange expression. Originally, Sherhuidi's heart was a bit bothered by the broken engagement. She was a woman with a very strong self-esteem. She wanted to break off the relationship with this man, but not in this way. Other people looked at her with a very strange expression. They said that she was abandoned by a useless second generation. This kind of humiliation was unbearable for the strong Sherhuidi. "Junior apprentice brother, let's go. The enchantment is about to open." Sherhuidi didn't want to stay together with this man. Yiyu nodded. He turned around and walked away. When he turned around, he looked at Ningshu with eyes full of killing intent. "Humph." Yin Jiao put her hands on her hips. Ningshu coldly snorted. "Big bitch, I won't let you off." She swung her long ponytail and walked away. The lead elder snappily said to Ningshu, "You're quite the hateful one. Anything can happen in the mystic realm. I can see that the strength of the Rainbow Gate sect's disciples isn't weak. Be careful." Seeing these people, She immediately jumped on the back of the Flash Wind Eagle and fled. She didn't have the ability to fight against the male lead. Wei Liangyue, I'll use this spirit tool to exchange for the pills in your hand. The chubby Lu Qinyang looked at the pills in Ning Shu's hand. The other 3 male disciples were also ready to make a move. They wanted to exchange with Ning Shu. They even wanted to directly snatch the pills. Damn, could it be that the pills were some kind of treasure? Ning Shu immediately held the bottle tightly. He vigilantly asked, "What are you guys doing?" "This is something given by the peerless beauty, Master Hui Di. Keeping it by my side is like being in close contact with a goddess," Lu Qinyang said with a face full of ripples. Ning Shu, damn. These men are cold on the outside but passionate on the inside. Ning Shu even suspected that these men wanted the pills. Then they would look at the pills and masturbate. Ning Shu shook his head. He felt that he was too dirty. Ning Shu smiled and said, "You can exchange but only 1 pill at a time. If I don't like your things, I won't exchange." Okay. Lu Qinyang took out a dagger from his storage pouch and gave it to Ning Shu. This dagger can cut through iron like mud. It is very useful to keep it by your side. Ning Shu accepted the dagger and gave Lu Qinyang a round pill. "Hey Wei Liangyue, this is for you. Give me a pill too." A male disciple gave Ning Shu a spiritual herb fruit. Ning Shu happily accepted the spiritual fruit and gave him a pill. Sherhuidi saw this scene from not far away. She was so angry that her body was shaking. This Wei Liangyue was really Sherhuidi, saw the intoxicated expression of the male disciple who received the pill. The feeling of being fantasized by a man was too humiliating and disgusting. A disciple came over and gave Ning Shu a crystal filled with impurities. Ning Shu asked for a pill. Ning Shu held the crystal against the light. "Are you fucking kidding me? You want to exchange this crystal for Goddess Shi's pill? In your dreams. Ning Shu, this is a chaos stone. Hurry up and keep it. Hurry up and keep it." Ah! 2333. A terrifying sound wave sounded in Ning Shu's head. Ning Shu's expression didn't change. He threw a pill to that disciple and said with disdain, "Look at your poor appearance. This is a reward from me." That disciple took the pill and laughed at Ning Shu in his heart. What an idiot. Chapter 264. Ning Shu used Sherhuidi's pills to trade for a lot of treasures. The most precious one was the Chaos Stone that 2333 mentioned. Just hearing about chaos made him feel inexplicably high. She had once absorbed chaotic purple gas in the sky Dao space. Could the Chaos Stone also have chaotic purple gas? Ning Shu turned his head and saw Sherhuidi's cold eyes, and Yi Yu's gaze that looked like he was looking at a dead man. Yi Yu looked at the wretched Ning Shu, then turned to Sherhuidi and said, "This person can't be left alive. Keeping him alive will hurt Senior Sister's reputation. He's doing this on purpose to humiliate Senior Sister. Once we enter the secret territory, Junior Brother will avenge Senior Sister and make sure he never leaves the secret territory." Sherhuidi's lips moved under the veil. She bit her lip with her pearly white teeth, but in the end, she didn't say anything. Yi Yu knew that Senior Apprentice Sister agreed with his decision. Moreover, he was just a rich second generation. As long as he did it cleanly, no one would be able to find out. Senior Apprentice Sister, who was as bright as the moon, should not be looked at differently by the world because of this disgusting man. "Hey big bitch, why did you trade the pills Senior Sister gave you for something else?" Yin Jiao asked unruly Ning Shu. Ning Shu said casually, "Since your Senior Sister gave it to me, it's mine. I can do whatever I want with it." "But you shouldn't have given the pills to these men in front of Senior Sister," Yin Jiao said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu looked at Yin Jiao and said, "Little girl, what did I do to you? You're always looking for trouble. If I keep your Senior Sister's things, you'll say that I still have feelings for her. No matter what I do, I won't be happy. What do you want me to do? I'll send you to your death." "You." Yin Jiao was so angry that her face turned red. She pulled out her whip and pointed it at Ning Shu. She shouted angrily, "I'll send you to your death first." As she spoke, she lashed out with her whip at Ning Shu. Ning Shu quickly dodged. Looking at the whip in Yin Jiao's hand, he felt very sad. She also wanted to use her whip to whip people. "You actually dare to dodge? Be a good boy and let this great aunt whip you." See if this great ant doesn't whip your stinky face into a pulp. Yin Jiao shouted in a very spoiled manner. She was dressed in a tight-fitting blue robe with a simple long ponytail. She looked exceptionally lively. Ning Shu hid behind the leading elder and complained, "Elder, she wants to kill me." The leading elder's face darkened. He felt a little embarrassed. Yin Jiao was so angry that her face was distorted. She pointed at Ning Shu and shouted, "Are you still a man? How dare you complain? Do you have any shame? So what if I'm shameless?" Ning Shu's Yin Jiao said with grief and indignation. "You think you're in the right when you hit him? You're the shameless one. You can't win an argument, so you hit him. You're simply shameless. You're the shameless one. You're the shameless one." Yin Jiao immediately retorted, "Oh my, this girl is too cute. It would be even better if I didn't whip her. Such a cute girl would be drowned in Yi Yu's harem. Every time Yi Yu met a beauty, he would take that beauty into his bag. There were all kinds of beauties. There were romantic ones, charming ones, pure ones, dignified ones, cold ones, lively ones. In short, there were all kinds of beauties. Moreover, these women loved him to death. When they met Yi Yu, they would all be attracted to Yi Yu." Yi Yu saw Yin Jiao and Ning Shu quarreling, and felt a little uncomfortable. He hurriedly called out to Yin Jiao, "All right, Yin Jiao, there's no need to be so serious with this kind of person." Facing Yi Yu, Yin Jiao's expression became much better. She walked towards Yi Yu, and even turned around to threaten Ning Shu. "Just you wait. If you fall into my hands, this great ant will definitely make you suffer a fate worse than death." "Ning Shu, I'm so scared." The barrier of the secret realm was getting weaker and weaker. It looked like it would open soon. Ning Shu's expression became serious. He held the spirit beast pouch tightly. If anything happened, he would release the flash wind eagle and run. Nothing was more important than his life. For his life, he could give up his integrity. "It's open. The barrier is open." Following the sound of people's voices, everyone went into a big hole in the barrier. Ning Shu was in the middle of the crowd, and was directly squeezed in. Before he could react, his head buzzed and he didn't feel anything. When Ning Shu woke up, he was already in a desolate place. There was a familiar person lying next to him. It was Lu Qinyang. Not long after Ning Shu woke up, Lu Qinyang woke up as well. He then began to vomit. When the dizziness disappeared, Lu Qinyang noticed Ning Shu next to him. He was a little surprised. "You were sent here by the teleportation array. Why didn't you have any reaction?" "Of course I had a reaction. I wanted to vomit a long time ago, but I swallowed it down." Ning Shu smacked his lips. Lu Qinyang. While Lu Qinyang, who had just vomited, began to vomit again. Ning Shu ignored him, and directly released the flash wind eagle from the spirit beast pouch. He was ready to leave. "Hey, where are you going?" Seeing Ning Shu's flash wind eagle, Lu Qinyang's eyes flashed. He said, "The secret realm is dangerous. Let's go together. If anything happens, we can help each other." Lu Qinyang looked at the flash wind eagle with envy. He then asked Ning Shu, "How many people can your flash wind eagle carry?" "One." Ning Shu controlled the flash wind eagle to fly into the air. Seeing Ning Shu leave, Lu Qinyang's face suddenly turned ugly. He hurriedly shouted at Ning Shu, who was in the air, "You are so weak. You want to go alone? Let's go together." Ning Shu didn't want to stay with someone with bad intentions. He also had to guard against the people around him. The flash wind eagle was very fast. In an instant, it disappeared in front of Lu Qinyang. Lu Qinyang cursed and regretted that he didn't make a move earlier. He didn't expect that Trashway Liangyue would have a spirit beast like the flash wind eagle. Ning Shu sat on the back of the flash wind eagle and looked around. This space had a desert and forests. He could faintly hear the sound of beasts roaring in the lush forest. There was also the sea in the distance. If this was a cultivator's senfu, it was too big. Ning Shu let the flash wind eagle land, and then put it away. Walking in the forest, Ning Shu picked the spirit herbs he saw. Moreover, this secret realm was full of heaven and earth yuan qi. Ning Shu only needed to take a sniff, and his breath was full of yuan qi. He felt refreshed. If he could accept this senfu and cultivate in this senfu, it would be great. This should be the male lead's fortuitous encounter. It had nothing to do with her. Ning Shu touched some herbs that spirit beasts hated. In her heart she was drooling over this senfu. However, her current strength was too weak. She simply didn't have the strength to fight with the male lead. Sigh. This senfu isn't anything good. It's just trash. 2333's voice in her mind was full of disdain. Ning Shu indifferently replied, "Forgive me for not seeing the world. I don't know what else is good. Why do you say this senfu is trash?" Ning Shu's feelings were complicated. The thing she wanted but couldn't get was looked down upon by others. Chapter 265. Then why don't you tell me why this senfu is trash? Can you give me a piece of trash like the senfu? Ning Shu said indignantly. She still wanted to snatch this piece of trash from the male lead, Tui senfu. This shouldn't be some senfu, but a plane, a very very low-level plane. It didn't even have its own laws, so it can't give birth to its own unique creatures. In the end, it was sacrificed and used as a senfu, a shelter. 2333 said faintly, obviously looking down on this senfu. This plane has no future. If it can't form its own laws of heaven and earth, it will slowly disappear. If that's the case, it should have grown into a plane. It's an immature plane. The place where the plane was born prematurely peeled off. 2333 said. The place where the plane was born. There's such a place? Ning Shu asked curiously. She felt like she had opened the door to a new world. 2333 said impatiently. Planes can also die. If the plane can't maintain and repair its laws of heaven and earth, the plane will collapse and naturally disappear. However, new planes will also be born. Your role is to repair these planes and prevent them from collapsing for some reason. After all, every plane has countless creatures. If the plane collapses, these creatures will also disappear. Ning Shu suddenly felt that her current job was so great. She could live forever and also repair planes. Okay, now how was she going to snatch this plane from the male lead? If this thing fell into the male lead's hands, then the male lead would be invincible. If she couldn't beat him, then she could just hide in the senfu. Ning Shu took out the map that old man Wei gave her. It marked the places where treasures grew. However, they were all guarded by vicious beasts. Ning Shu couldn't beat them. Getting these things was basically a dream. Her strength was too low. Ning Shu felt that the mission was getting harder and harder. Senior Brother Yi, where are we going now? A familiar lively female voice sounded. Then a group of people appeared in front of Ning Shu. They were basically all disciples of the Rainbow Sect. Yin Jiao was stunned for a moment. Then she laughed sinisterly. Big bitch, you're out of luck. When Yi Yu saw Ning Shu, he sneered. His eyes were cold. Ning Shu said, "You shouldn't humiliate your senior sister like that." Ning Shu didn't say anything. He released his flash wind eagle and ran away. Yi Yu was stunned for a moment. He hadn't even finished speaking, and this person had already run away. It seemed like this person knew that he wasn't strong enough, and ran away first. Yi Yu was particular about getting rid of weeds. Don't think that just because you have a flying spirit beast, you can run away. Yi Yu turned to Yin Jiao and Sherhuidi and said, "Wait for me here. I'll be back soon. Senior Brother Yi, you must kill that despicable bitch. Don't let your senior sister be sad for this kind of person. He insulted your senior sister like this. You must cut him into 10,000 pieces." Yin Jiao angrily said. Yi Yu seriously looked at Sherhuidi, who was wearing a thin veil, and said, "Senior sister, don't worry. I will definitely kill this person." Xiahua. Yi Yu shouted. A red light came out from the spirit beast's bag. Then a clear bird cry sounded. A fiery red bird affectionately called out to Yi Yu. "Okay, Xiahua. Let's go chase after the rat. Let him see the grace of your divine beast." Yi Yu jumped on Xiaohua's back and chased after Ning Shu. Ning Shu, who was running in front, felt that something was wrong. The flash wind eagle's consciousness transmitted a feeling of fear. Moreover, its speed also slowed down. Ning Shu looked back, and saw Yi Yu standing on the back of the fiery red bird. He was chasing after him, and the distance between them was gradually shortening. Is this a phoenix? The other party's speed was getting faster and faster. It was clearly faster than the flash wind eagle. Ning Shu was a bit anxious. If the male lead caught up, would he still be alive? Fly towards the seaside. Ning Shu ordered the flash wind eagle. The flash-winged eagle wanted to get rid of the pressure of the divine beast. When it heard Ning Shu's order, it immediately flapped its wings and flew towards the seaside. Yi Yu saw the flash-winged eagle increasing its speed and coldly sneered. Struggling before death. Xiaohua, hurry up. Senior sister is still waiting for us. There's no need to waste time here. The divine beast phoenix cried out. It flapped its beautiful fiery red wings and chased after the big stupid bird. Ning Shu was very anxious. He saw Yi Yu getting closer and closer. Moreover, his speed was very fast. Don't run. Even if you run, you won't be able to escape. Yi Yu mobilized the energy in his body and attacked Ning Shu. Ning Shu suddenly felt his internal organs shift. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. If it wasn't for the soft armor given to him by Old Man Wei, Ning Shu would have already died. Ning Shu didn't care about the pain in his body. He transferred his energy into the flash-winged eagle. With Ning Shu's assistance, the flash-winged eagle desperately increased its speed. It flapped its big wings and flew towards the seaside. Yi Yu saw that his attack didn't injure the other party. He was surprised. He had used 80% of his strength. He thought that this person would be directly smashed into minced meat. However, he was actually fine. It seemed like he only spat out a mouthful of blood. Yi Yu's eyes flashed with a burning light. This person must have some kind of protective treasure on him. Yi Yu's expression became serious. He said to the phoenix, Xiaohua, hurry up. What kind of treasure does this person have? The phoenix let out a clear cry and increased its speed to catch up to the flash-winged eagle. Ning Shu had already been chased to the seaside by Yi Yu. Ning Shu stood on the back of the flash-winged eagle and looked at the phoenix. Yi Yu stood majestically on the phoenix's back. He was handsome like a powerful god, making others worship him. Ning Shu spat out a mouthful of blood. He directly let the flash-winged eagle enter the spirit beast pouch. He directly jumped into the sea. Moreover, he was lucky to jump into the sea. Yi Yu's face suddenly sank. He stared blankly at the splashing waves in the sea. His heart was very worried. He thought that this person was just a useless piece of trash. He didn't think that he would have the courage to jump into the sea. Moreover, he didn't hesitate to jump into the sea. He could not be caught. Yi Yu's heart suddenly had a trace of fear towards this second-generation young master. He clearly knew that there were all kinds of spirit beasts in the sea. However, he still jumped in. Yi Yu put himself in the other party's shoes. If it was him, he would rather fight to the death than jump into the sea like this. However, Yi Yu forgot that Ning Shu was just a cultivation rookie. He didn't even have the ability to fight. Yi Yu regretted not killing him earlier. He kept thinking about the other party's protective treasure. He wanted to use the least damaging method to kill him. He wanted to capture him alive and kill him. Unexpectedly, the other party managed to escape. Chapter 266. After Ning Shu jumped into the sea, Yi Yu didn't leave immediately. Instead, he waited above the sea surface. Yi Yu waited above for a long time. Seeing that the person in the sea didn't appear, Yi Yu thought for a moment before jumping into the sea. In the past, he looked down on Wei Liangyue. However, Wei Liangyue was very decisive in this situation. With a tenacious mind, she must be a great enemy. Yi Yu jumped into the sea. Immediately, he felt that the sea water was bone-piercing cold. It was as if he was soaking in ice water. Even if he circulated the essence in his body, he couldn't resist the cold. What kind of sea water was this? It was so bone-piercing cold that it seemed to be able to freeze the essence in his body. Yi Yu looked around, but didn't see Ning Shu's shadow. Even with Yi Yu's cultivation, he couldn't resist the cold. He felt that Wei Liangyue's cultivation was too low. She should have been frozen to death by the sea water. Yi Yu jumped out of the sea surface and stood on the back of the phoenix. He frowned and looked at the sea surface. He didn't see anyone. In the end, he left. However, not long after, Yi Yu returned. However, he still didn't see Wei Liangyue. Did she really die? Did she disappear for no reason? Yi Yu stayed for a while longer before he really left. Ning Shu, who was being remembered by Yi Yu, was entangled by something. She couldn't escape. Moreover, the thing that was entangling her felt like kelp or an octopus leg. Now, Ning Shu was holding a dagger and trying to cut off the thing on his ankle. However, when he tried to cut it, It felt like he was cutting a piece of iron or stone. The force of the rebound made Ningxu's hand go numb. In addition, the seawater was cold. That kind of cold seeped into his bones. Ningxu felt that his body was frozen numb. If it wasn't for the peerless martial arts in his body supporting him, he was afraid that Ningxu would have frozen to death. Moreover, the cultivation method of this world was unable to resist the cold. What the hell was this thing? Anyway, this thing just kept pestering her and didn't eat her. It also didn't make any movements. The surroundings were pitch black, and Ningxu couldn't see anything. Fuck. I'm going to suffocate if I don't go now. Ningxu didn't care about the thing on his leg, and swam desperately at night, wanting to take a breath. She had been at the bottom of the sea for a long time. Just as he floated to the surface, he was dragged down by something on his leg. He only took a breath before he was dragged down. Furthermore, he had been injured by Yiyu, and his internal organs were damaged. Now that he was soaked in the bone-chilling seawater, Ningxu felt like he was going to die. If he didn't take any medicine to treat his wounds, he would really die. Yiyu, once I get out of here, I'll definitely hunt you down, and let you have a taste of what it's like to be hunted down. Ningxu released the Flash Wind Eagle. When the Flash Wind Eagle came out, it realized that it was in the sea and was stunned. Ningxu grabbed the Flash Wind Eagle's claws and ordered it to rush out of the sea. The Flash Wind Eagle's speed was very slow in his hands. Ningxu was speechless. He still dared to say that his ancestor was the Kuan-Peng. The Kuan-Peng could fly 9,000 miles in the sky and was invincible. However, the Flash Wind Eagle wasn't so good. Above, the Flash Wind Eagle was desperately trying to fly up. Below, the kelp was tightly holding on to him, pulling him down. Ningxu felt like he was going to be torn apart. Fuck, this was how miserable it was to be weak. Suddenly Ningxu's leg loosened. Without the obstruction, the Flash Wind Eagle rushed out of the sea. For a moment it couldn't stop and flew very high. When Ningxu looked down, she felt dizzy. Moreover, there were astral winds high up in the sky. When the astral winds hit people, they immediately left deep bloody marks on their bodies. They were like flying knives. What Ningxu couldn't stand the most was that his leg was still wrapped around by that damn thing. That damn thing was also being dragged out of the sea. Go down, go down. Ningxu ordered the Flash Wind Eagle. The Flash Wind Eagle carefully avoided the astral winds and finally came down. As soon as his feet touched the ground, Ningxu immediately took out some healing pills from his storage bag. Seeing that the Flash Wind Eagle's body was badly injured by the astral winds, he hurriedly stuffed the pills into its mouth and fed it some crystals. At least he had a helper by his side. It was really important to have a capable companion. Fortunately, he had contracted a spirit beast when he entered the secret realm. Otherwise, he would have been killed by Yiyu. The thing on his leg was slowly pulling him into the sea. Ningxu looked at this thing and felt that it was really kelp. It even had roots. However, this kelp was completely black and had a feeling of fine iron. Furthermore, this thing had its own consciousness and was pulling Ningxu into the sea with great force. Ningxu was speechless. Fuck, did this kelp become a spirit? Ningxu let the Flash Wind Eagle try to use its claws to see if it could pry open the kelp. The Flash Wind Eagle used its sharp and cold claws to scratch at the kelp on Ningxu's leg. Sparks flew when the claws came into contact with the kelp. It seemed that there was no way to pry open the thing around his leg. Fuck, how unlucky. The kelp extended other branches and tried to entangle the Flash Wind Eagle. The Flash Wind Eagle immediately flew into the air, making it impossible for the kelp to entangle it. Ningxu hugged a tree tightly and didn't let this thing drag him into the sea. Fuck, his leg was going to be torn off. What the hell was this? Could it be that he couldn't get rid of the kelp? If the kelp really turned him into spicy shredded kelp, the problem was that he had never seen such hard kelp before. Ningxu had no choice but to try and see if she could make this thing her spiritual pet. 2 small white dots appeared in his consciousness. Sure enough, it worked. Ningxu squeezed his consciousness into a small white ball. The kelp was still ignorant and didn't know how to resist. It just kept dragging Ningxu into the sea. After engraving his consciousness into the kelp's consciousness, Ningxu realized that this one, let's call it this one for now, didn't have any emotions. Its mind was blank. The emotional fluctuations that were transmitted to Ning Shu were that it wanted to go into the sea. It seemed that it couldn't leave the sea. Ning Shu first comforted the kelp, and then asked it to let go of him. However, the kelp didn't understand Ning Shu's intention, and just tried to drag Ning Shu into the sea with all its might. Ning Shu was speechless. Fuck, there was no way to communicate. Ning Shu could only communicate with the kelp in his consciousness, and ask it to let go of him. The kelp still dragged Ning Shu into the sea. Ning Shu could only sigh, and let it drag him into the sea. Once it touched the sea, the kelp seemed to be in a better state. It swam in front of Ning Shu, and seemed to be very curious about Ning Shu. Ning Shu floated on the surface of the sea, and expressed his goodwill to the kelp over and over again. He also asked it to let go of his leg. The kelp finally understood Ning Shu's intention, and finally let go of Ning Shu's leg. However, the whole plant stuck to Ning Shu's body, and tightly wrapped around Ning Shu. Then it suddenly pulled Ning Shu into the sea. Fuck, help. Ning Shu's heart ached when he encountered the first stupid spirit beast. When the flash-winged eagle saw this, it screeched sharply, and hurriedly flew on the surface of the sea. Ning Shu was pulled to the bottom of the sea by the kelp. The kelp tightly wrapped around Ning Shu, and seemed to be very intimate with Ning Shu. Ning Shu was speechless. Help, I need to breathe. Chapter 267. Ning Shu was dragged to the bottom of the sea by Kelp Lord. What he regretted the most in his life was making Kelp Lord his spirit pet. Without any thoughts, it was so difficult to communicate. Ning Shu was planted beside Kelp Lord like a stalk of kelp. Ning Shu reached out and touched it. He felt that the place under his feet should be some kind of coral. It was hard to the touch. Ning Shu tried to communicate with Kelp Lord in his mind, but Kelp Lord only gave Ning Shu a very monotonous feeling. It didn't even know what Ning Shu was talking about. After being in the sea for a long time, Ning Shu asked Kelp Lord to take him out to breathe. If she didn't breathe, she would die. After telling Kelp Lord many times, Kelp Lord finally got Ning Shu out of the sea. When Ning Shu took a breath, Kelp Lord would immediately drag her down. After a while, Kelp Lord would drag her out of the sea. After a while, Kelp Lord would drag her to the bottom of the sea again. After a while, Kelp Lord would drag her out of the sea again. The flash-winged eagle stood on the shore and watched its master pop up again and again. Ning Shu, my heart is so tired. I don't know what to say. After being tormented by Kelp Lord, Ning Shu found that he had completely adapted to the bone-piercing temperature of the sea. His body didn't feel cold anymore. It was probably because he was numb to the cold and couldn't feel it. Ning Shu stayed beside Kelp Lord. He felt that the vitality in the sea was quite abundant. Ning Shu also felt that his body was slowly strengthening. During this time, Ning Shu understood the situation around him. There was only one spirit beast, Kelp Lord. Sometimes Ning Shu could even feel some bones. It was probably a spirit beast in the sea that was entangled by Kelp Lord and died here. Ning Shu didn't know how Kelp Lord evolved from seaweed to this. It was simply unbelievable. Ning Shu tried to communicate with Kelp Lord, but Kelp Lord was still confused. Really, why do I always meet these kinds of noobs? It's fine if it's zombies, but now it's kelp. I don't know what kind of creatures will appear in the future. The kelp let Ning Shu squat beside it. Anyway, she didn't have to do anything. Ning Shu wanted to leave, but the kelp wrapped around her tightly, making it impossible for her to escape. Fuck, am I going to die of old age in this plane? There was nothing more tragic than being entangled to death by a kelp. Ning Shu had no choice but to cultivate slowly. However, cultivating underwater was actually much faster than cultivating on land. This was the only consolation amidst his misery. Invulnerable and ignorant, Ning Shu's claws were really numb. This was how miserable it was to be weak. 2333 system, please help me. Ning Shu asked 2333 for help for the first time. The buzzing sound in his head continued for a long time, but 2333 still did not say anything. Ning Shu suspected that 2333 had burned his motherboard. What is it? 2333 asked. Suddenly it exclaimed, "There's a lot of spiritual marrow under your butt." Ning Shu hurriedly searched everywhere. Where is it? Where is it? Ning Shu touched something that looked like a rock. Is this spiritual marrow? Ah, the spiritual marrow is crystallized. Good stuff, good stuff. 2333 quickly said. There's liquid spiritual marrow underneath. Ningxu touched the spiritual marrow again. The spiritual marrow was very heavy. It was like jelly in the water, and did not disperse in the water. Suddenly, he understood that the kelp was able to grow to this size because of the spiritual marrow. It only had strength but no brains. Quick, these are all good energy. Give them all to me. 2333 finally saw a type of energy. Ningxu gave the crystallized spirit marrow to 2333 and did not take any more. She grabbed a handful of the jelly-like spirit marrow and stuffed it into her mouth. Suddenly, an endless amount of spirit chi surged through her body. It was as if she could not stop it. Do you want to die? This kind of thing can't be eaten casually. 2333 said. Even a drop of spiritual marrow contains a lot of spiritual energy. Ningxu felt that the spiritual energy in his body was about to burst. Blood was coming out of his pores. Kelp seemed to have noticed that something was wrong with Ningxu. It dragged Ningxu to the surface of the sea. When Ningxu thought that his body was about to explode, the peerless martial arts coiling dragon-like chi in his body actually started to absorb the spirit chi. Moreover, the coiling dragon's body was getting bigger and bigger, occupying the entire position of his dantian. However, it still absorbed the spiritual energy quickly. The dragon's body became smaller and smaller. Finally, it turned into a golden dragon. Its whole body emitted a golden luster. It swam in his dantian like a real dragon. The spiritual chi in the spiritual marrow was completely absorbed by this chi. Ningxu was simply dumbfounded. She didn't think that this chi would be so fierce. She had obtained this secret book of peerless martial arts when she was a princess in a low-level plane. Moreover, it had such a funny name. Since she didn't have any powerful secret books, Ningxu could only practice this secret book. However, she didn't think that this peerless martial arts would be so powerful. It was simply beyond Ningxu's expectations. Sure enough, the simplest and lowest level things could be very powerful when practiced to the extreme. It was reasonable to say that Wei Liangyue's secret book was countless times stronger than the peerless martial arts. However, in the end, he still relied on this spiritual energy to save his life. It seemed that even if he had a powerful secret book in the future, he could not throw away the peerless martial arts. This was the most powerful thing. The flash wind eagle flew back and forth above Ningxu's head. Its cry was somewhat anxious. It was clearly worried about Ningxu. If Ningxu died, the flash wind eagle would also die. Ningxu felt that her body was full of strength. Even with the kelp entangling her, Ningxu easily went ashore. The kelp wanted to throw Ningxu into the sea, but Ningxu pulled on the kelp and easily dragged it away. She had now killed it. Oh hee! The kelp's consciousness transmitted a very wronged feeling. Ningxu directly let it soak in the sea. Then, she took out a spirit essence crystal and scraped a bit of powder before putting it into the flash wind eagle's mouth. The flash wind eagle immediately let out a high-pitched cry. Its entire body was trembling, and the feathers on its body quickly fell off. Soon it turned into a big fat turkey, much thinner than before. Ningxu was startled. Fuck, what's going on? Why is its feathers falling off? Thinking that he would have to ride such a thing in the future, Ningxu felt very sad. But soon the flash wind eagle's body grew new feathers. The color of the feathers was darker than before, but its defensive power had increased by a level. The flash wind eagle rubbed its head against Ningxu, expressing its current happiness to Ningxu. However, Ningxu immediately pushed the flash wind eagle's head away. Such a ferocious bird head with an even sharper beak. It still wanted to act cute and act cute? Go away. Now, Ningxu had a shadow over the intimate actions of a spirit pet. It was all because of the kelp's fault. 2333 System Sir, seeing that I took so much spirit essence, can you give this kelp some wisdom? I'm tired. Ningxu asked 2333. Chapter 268. Ningxu looked at the kelp that was floating in the water. Such an innocent little thing really made people feel helpless. There should be some kind of command aura that gave this guy some pitiful intelligence. Ningxu asked 2333 to think of a way. But 2333 immediately went silent. Ning Shu said unhappily, "You should at least give something back if you take something from others." Now Ning Shu understood. The kelp kept asking her to stay with it, probably because it felt that the place it grew up in was a good place, and wanted to share it with her. Unfortunately, she could not communicate with the kelp. The kelp was lucky to be able to grow in such a place. It can be exchanged, but your system store is not open yet, so there is no way to open it. 2333 said regretfully. Ning Shu was speechless. Fuck, I must open this damn store. There are low-level wisdom pills. I can use a loophole in the system to exchange some for you. Do you want it? But the spiritual marrow is mine. 2333 said weakly. My energy is about to run out. Fuck, what a black-hearted bitch. Ning Shu waved her hand. Exchange it. Okay, please wait. 2333's voice was very excited. Ning Shu felt that he was tricked again. A moment later, 5 round pills appeared in Ning Shu's hand, shining with a rainbow light. Moreover, the fragrance was very strong, making people feel a lot clearer after smelling it. Things that they didn't understand before were now clear. This was the wisdom pill. Ning Shu wanted to feed the wisdom pill to the kelp, but she suddenly realized that the kelp did not have a mouth. How was she going to feed the kelp? Maybe it knew that the thing in front of it was beneficial. The kelp's roots suddenly opened something like a mouth, waiting for Ning Shu to feed it. Ning Shu felt that her worldview was being challenged. Fuck, the kelp had a mouth. After continuously throwing 3 wisdom pills into kelp's mouth, kelp was so proud of himself that even his long branches were shaking. Ning Shu thought about it and removed the relationship between him and the kelp. The kelp could only live in the sea, so there was nothing wrong with bringing it with him. For a moment, Ning Shu felt that his consciousness connection with kelp had disappeared. Kelp was a little confused and didn't quite understand what was happening. Ning Shu sat on the back of the Flash Wind Eagle and left. Ning Shu stuffed a wisdom pill into the Flash Wind Eagle's mouth. Then he ate one himself. The moment the pill entered his mouth, it melted into a warm current. Then he felt nothing. Ning Shu smacked his lips. That's it. Heavens, you actually ate the wisdom pill? 2333 exclaimed, using the mainframe to simulate a shocked voice. This wisdom pill is for animals. No one has ever eaten it before. Ning Shu, holy shit. Will there be any side effects? Ning Shu covered his face. This was a dark history that he couldn't bear to look at. 2333 was silent for a moment, then said, No one has ever eaten it before. I really don't know what side effects there will be. If there are any side effects, you have to tell me so that I can make some data. Ning Shu, I want to die. This was the reason why he didn't know much. Most importantly, he had an unreliable system by his side. The Flash Wind Eagle was now very fast. In a short while, they were far away from the beach. Ning Shu patted the Flash Wind Eagle's wings and asked it to dismount. Ning Shu didn't meet many people along the way. When he came across some spiritual herbs and rare treasures, even if they were guarded by spiritual beasts, Ning Shu didn't let them go. Ning Shu wanted to test his abilities. He came across a spiritual fruit that could expand the meridians. However, this spiritual fruit was guarded by a ferocious bear. Ning Shu looked at the incomparably majestic tyrannical bear and felt a little weak. However, she circulated her chi and stabbed the tyrannical bear with her spirit weapon longsword. The tyrannical bear was enraged and raised its huge bear paw to slap Ning Shu. However, what was more shocking was that Ning Shu's sword pierced through the bear's paw. It shouldn't be because of the spiritual weapon. Ning Shu clenched her fists and felt that her entire body was filled with strength. Ning Shu jumped up from the ground and clenched her fists tightly, smashing them towards the violent bear's head. In an instant, the bear's head exploded like a watermelon. Smelly blood mixed with gray brain matter splattered all over Ning Shu's face. Ning Shu was indescribably shocked. She was now Hercules. Her strength had reached an unimaginable level. Ning Shu didn't react until the bear's body fell to the ground. It was good to have strength. Only then would she have the strength to fight back against the male lead. The Flash Wind Eagle eagerly picked the spiritual fruit for Ning Shu and obediently gave it to her. Ning Shu took the spiritual fruit and placed it in her storage bag. Ningxu didn't know how long it had been. She was afraid that she would be trapped in this senfu and not be able to leave. After walking for a while, Ningxu didn't meet anyone. Thus, she caught 2 iron-teeth rabbits and roasted them. The flash wind eagle stood around Ningxu and vigilantly checked the surroundings for danger. Ningxu clearly felt that the flash wind eagle had become more spiritual after eating the wisdom pill. In addition, Ningxu's strength had increased. In its heart, it regarded Ningxu as its master. The flash wind eagle transmitted to Ningxu its feelings of reverence and gratitude. Speaking of the wisdom pill, Ningxu's cancer of embarrassment flared up. It was too embarrassing. After eating a tasteless iron-teeth rabbit, Ningxu dug her teeth. After all, it was a spiritual beast. The meat was tough. Ningxu threw the other one to the flash wind eagle. Suddenly, there was a rush of chaotic footsteps. Ningxu was shocked. It meant that there were still people in the senfu. The senfu's enchantment hadn't been closed. The flash wind eagle immediately held the roasted rabbit in its mouth, stretched its neck, and swallowed it whole. Ningxu couldn't help but stretch her neck and swallow a mouthful of saliva. Wasn't it afraid of indigestion? For people ran over in a sorry state. Their expressions were hurried and anxious, as if there was something terrifying chasing after them. However, these 4 people were familiar. They were the disciples of the Tiandao sect. There were 6 people, but now there were only 4 people left. 2 men and 2 women. The 2 missing disciples were probably dead. When Lu Qinyang saw Ningxu, he subconsciously exclaimed, "You're still alive." Lu Qinyang was really surprised. This secret realm was full of danger. Although there were many treasures, there were also many dangers. Not only were there powerful spiritual beasts, but there were also other people who had to be careful. Therefore, when Lu Qinyang saw Ningxu, he was shocked. How could someone with such weak strength survive? When the other 3 disciples saw Ningxu, they were disappointed. They thought that he was someone powerful, but he was the famous trash of the sect. "What's chasing after you?" Ningxu asked Lu Qinyang. Lu Qinyang looked at the flash wind eagle that seemed bigger than before. His eyes flashed. When he heard Ningxu's question, he quickly said, "Junior brother, there are spine iron wolves chasing after us. Can your flash wind eagle take us away?" Chapter 269. Lu Qinyang wanted to sit on Ningxu's flash wind eagle and leave. The other 2 disciples of the Tiandao sect had already been bitten to death by the ridge iron wolves. "Junior brother Wei, let's go together. The wolf pack will catch up soon," Lu Qinyang anxiously said to Ningxu. The other 3 disciples surrounded Ningxu and the flash wind eagle. Ningxu's face darkened as he coldly said, "What? You want to steal my flash wind eagle?" Lu Qinyang dryly laughed. "Don't misunderstand, junior brother Wei. We are all in danger and want to borrow your spirit pet. Let's go together." In Lu Qinyang's heart, Wei Liangyue was a piece of trash who couldn't help the sect at all. It was better to let them live and let Wei Liangyue do something for the sect. Ningxu clenched his fists and coldly said, "Don't forget, the flash wind eagle is my spirit pet. I can kill it with a single thought. If you want to steal my things, I will destroy you." Lu Qinyang was angered by Ningxu's impolite words. One of the female disciples said, "Wei Liangyue, do you have any sense of the sect? We are all disciples of the Tiandao sect, and we should support each other. What's wrong with borrowing your flash wind eagle?" As soon as the female disciple finished speaking, wolf howls resounded. Immediately after, many wolves jumped over and surrounded the group. These ridge iron wolves had very protruding spines. When they opened their mouths, their saliva dripped onto the ground and corroded it. Moreover, their saliva was very smelly. The spine iron wolf slowly closed in, shrinking the encirclement. The spine iron wolf's eyes were filled with hatred as it looked at the heavenly Tao sect's disciples. Its saliva dripped as it closed in step by step, bringing with it a suffocating aura. The 2 female disciples' faces turned pale. They staggered and almost fell to the ground. One of them almost cried. Ningxu complained, "If you had lent your flash wind eagle to us, we wouldn't be in such a situation. I don't want to die." Ningxu rolled his eyes. Putting aside the fact that the flash wind eagle couldn't fit so many people, These people didn't seem to have any intention of taking her away. They might even kill her. This weirdo's matter-of-fact attitude really made Ningxu drunk. Wasn't she just a weakling? Wolves were very vengeful and cunning creatures. These disciples must have offended the pack of wolves, or taken something that the pack of wolves valued. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so persistent in chasing them. What did you take? Ningxu and Lu Qinyang asked. Lu Qinyang said, "It's a kind of spiritual fruit. We've already eaten it. You deserve to be chased." Ningxu shrugged and said casually. Lu Qinyang glared at Ningxu and took out his own spirit artifact. He took the lead in fighting against the Ridge Iron Wolves. The others also braced themselves to find a breakthrough point and prepared to rush out of the wolf pack's encirclement. No one cared about Ningxu. Obviously, if they rushed out of the encirclement, they wouldn't care about Ningxu. TSK. Just a moment ago, they were still talking about the sex consciousness. Now these people had completely lost the sex unity. Cultivators were very selfish. In order to pursue the supreme Tao, in order to cultivate, in order to achieve their goals, they were especially indifferent and selfish. So what if these people became immortals? Ningxu let the Flash Wind Eagle fight. The Flash Wind Eagle flew into the air, and then suddenly swooped down. It used its terrifying sharp beak to peck the Ridge Iron Wolf's back. Suddenly, the Ridge Iron Wolf's sad spine was broken. Ningxu took a deep breath and clenched her fist. She punched the wolf that was pouncing towards her. Her fist smashed into the Ridge Iron Wolf's head. In an instant, the Ridge Iron Wolf's head exploded into a bloody mist. Even its body was turned into pieces of meat. Ningxu was very excited. She discovered that her strength was really great. Moreover, it was developing in the direction of strength. She didn't need to use any complicated moves. She could directly use her bare hands to heavily injure some spirit beasts or people that didn't have a strong defense. In order to test her strength, Ningxu clenched her fist and punched the Ridge Iron Wolf's back. Immediately, the Ridge Iron Wolf fell to the ground. Its body was soft and its bones were all broken. Clenching her fist, Ningxu really wanted to shout. The feeling of being filled with strength was really great. She didn't have to worry about being chased by Yiyu anymore. Maybe she could even kill him. Lu Qinyang saw Ningxu's actions from the corner of his eyes. He was so shocked that his jaw dropped. Was this trash that only knew how to play with women and rely on his father's protection? Killing a wolf with a single punch. Lu Qinyang suspected that he was dreaming. Although it was easy for him to kill a wolf, many ants could bite an elephant to death. With so many Ridge Iron Wolves, he was a bit overwhelmed. He watched as this trash easily killed the Ridge Iron Wolves. The reason why the Ridgeback Iron Wolf was called Iron Wolf was because its defensive ability was very strong. The spirit beasts in this secret realm all had very strong defensive abilities. Even an Iron Teeth rabbit had a pretty good defensive ability, but now it was killed by a single punch. Such a simple and crude move. Did it shake Lu Qinyang's worldview? If this was trash, then what about them? The other disciples also noticed Ningxu's actions. They were so shocked that their jaws dropped. How could he kill the wolves so easily? Without any discussion, everyone gathered around Ningxu and resisted the pack of wolves with her. Ningxu and the Flash Wind Eagle reaped the harvest. The ground was covered with the corpses of the Ridge Iron Wolves. The other Ridge Iron Wolves lowered their bodies and whimpered at Ningxu. They continuously retreated and finally ran away with their tails between their legs. Seeing the Ridge Iron Wolves run away, everyone let out a sigh of relief. They turned their heads and looked at Ningxu with a complicated expression. Ningxu casually grabbed a handful of grass from the ground and wiped the stench of blood on her hands. A female disciple handed a handkerchief to Ningxu. Ningxu said, "Junior brother, use the handkerchief to wipe." Ningxu was not polite. She took the handkerchief and wiped her hands clean. Looking at her own hands, they didn't look very thick or strong. They were just a pair of white and tender hands that had been maintained by the original owner. However, they had so much strength. It should be the coiling dragon energy in her body that had transformed her body. In addition to the effect of the energy, her body was filled with explosive power. The others also stared at Ningxu's hands. It was hard to imagine that a pair of hands that looked like a woman's could have such great power. They suddenly felt that this pair of hands was filled with charm and beauty. Lu Qingyang and Ning Shu laughed heartily and said, "Junior brother Wei, I didn't expect your strength to be so great. I didn't know before." Ning Shu ignored Lu Qingyang. Lu Qingyang was a bit embarrassed and immediately said, "Where is junior brother Wei going next? Why don't we go together?" "Yes, we are all disciples of the Heavenly Road sect. If we go together, we can take care of each other." The other disciples sincerely invited Ning Shu. This was power. Only the strong deserved the respect of others. Chapter 270. These people saw that Ning Shu was very strong, so they wanted to invite Ning Shu to team up with them. In fact, they didn't believe that this trash was so powerful. Ning Shu didn't want to team up with them at all. Although they were disciples of the same sect, these people actually ostracized her in their hearts. Moreover, these people's eyes were flickering when they looked at her, and they couldn't help but scan her body. Lu Qingyang felt that Wei Liangyue should have some treasures on him. Wei Liangyue's father was an elder of the Tiandao sect, and had a rich family background. Since he dared to bring such a trash son into the secret realm, he must have some trump cards. Lu Qingyang's eyes flickered as he sincerely said to Ning Shu, "Junior brother Wei, you can only find a limited amount of spirit herbs and spirit fruits by yourself. Why don't we all work together? We can share the harvest later." Ning Shu faintly asked, "What if we don't divide the spoils equally?" Lu Qingyang suddenly choked. He really didn't know how to respond to Ning Shu's words. It was like finding a spirit fruit. How should they divide it? Should they use a knife to cut it open, and each person would get a petal? That was too shameful. Moreover, it would hurt the spirit fruit. Ning Shu jumped on the back of the Flash Wind Eagle and prepared to leave. The few people suddenly became anxious. No matter what, Wei Liangyue dealt with the Ridge Iron Wolf very easily. Moreover, he even scared the ferocious wolf away. If Wei Liangyue left, and the Ridge Iron Wolf chased after them, it would be very difficult for them to deal with it. "Junior brother Wei, please don't go." A female disciple's eyes glowed like autumn water. Ning Shu said, "If you leave and the Ridge Iron Wolf comes, what will we do?" Ning Shu very casually said, "Anyway, the spirit fruit isn't for me to eat. The Ridge Iron Wolf won't come looking for me." Everyone was speechless. "Junior brother Wei, I have a spirit fruit that can comprehend the laws of heaven and earth. This spirit fruit is very precious. I will give it to you." Lu Qingyang took out a jade box from his storage bag with a painful expression. When Ning Shu saw Lu Qingyang's expression, he felt that there must be something good inside the box. Otherwise, Lu Qingyang wouldn't look like he was about to cut off his flesh. Ning Shu jumped down from the Flash Wind Eagle's back. He wanted to take the box, but Lu Qingyang held onto him tightly. Ning Shu grabbed the box with all his strength. Lu Qingyang's face trembled. "Junior martial brother Wei, I hope you like this." Opening the box, Ning Shu saw a snow-white fruit surrounded by a complex rainbow light. Just looking at it for a long time would make one feel dizzy. Ning Shu closed the box and put it in his storage pouch. He smiled and said, "I like it a lot. This thing should be useful to Old Man Wei." Things that could allow one to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth were very precious. When Lu Qingyang saw Ning Shu put away the item, his face twitched. After a long while, Ning Shu said, "Junior martial brother Wei, let's form a team. Of course, we are all disciples of the Heavenly Tao sect. Naturally, we have to help each other." Ning Shu understood that Lu Qingyang took out this thing to let her fight the wolf pack. When they heard that Ning Shu was willing to stay, they all let out a sigh of relief. Regardless of whether they admitted it or not, the current Wei Liangyue was stronger than them. Due to the many Ridgeback Iron Wolf corpses in the surroundings, the few of them changed locations and prepared to rest. The few of them had been constantly chased by the Ridgeback Iron Wolves, so they had not been able to rest properly. In comparison, Ning Shu's condition was many times better than theirs. Some people went out to hunt iron teeth rabbits and roast them to replenish their energy. Ning Shu sat beside the Flash Wind Eagle and meditated on the ground. Lu Qingyang sat beside Ning Shu. He rubbed his nose and wanted to talk to Ning Shu. However, The flash-winged eagle glared at him with a warning look. Lu Qingyang looked at the flash-winged eagle with some bewilderment. He felt that this spirit pet was different from before. It was much stronger. He guessed that Wei Liangyue gave it some spirit fruit to make it stronger. She was really a nouveau riche. She actually gave good things to a spirit pet to eat. Having a powerful father was really willful. Many disciples of the Heavenly Tao sect were very jealous of Wei Liangyue. Others were lucky enough to painstakingly collect cultivation resources. But Wei Liangyue had a father who didn't have any resources. Moreover, she had these resources, but she didn't cultivate seriously. This made others feel like scratching their hearts and lungs. They couldn't wait to change places with Wei Liangyue. What's the matter? Ningxu opened his eyes and saw Lu Qingyang staring at his spirit pet with a very complicated look. He even had thoughts about his spirit pet. Lu Qingyang's chubby face smiled. He looked very kind and said, I just want to ask you about cultivation. I don't think your cultivation is very high. Why are you so powerful? Ningxu said, I have great strength. Lu Qingyang was speechless. What kind of answer was this? Junior brother Wei, eat something. A female disciple gave a roasted rabbit to Ningxu. Ningxu waved his hand. I've eaten. You guys can eat. The flash-winged eagle looked at the roasted rabbit in the female disciple's hand. Its sharp eyes were fixed on it. Ningxu took the rabbit and thanked the female disciple. Thank you, senior sister. Ningxu threw the rabbit to the flash-winged eagle. The flash-winged eagle ate the rabbit. The female disciple Ningxu smiled and said, Junior brother, your spirit pet is very interesting. Ningxu said, Haha, your spirit pet is also very interesting. I don't have a spirit pet yet. A good one is hard to come by. The female disciple sat next to Ningxu. The breeze blew her hair and swept it onto Ningxu's face. Ningxu felt very itchy and moved to the side. The female disciple didn't care about Ningxu's movements. Ningxu asked, Actually, you did this on purpose. You pretended to be a good-for-nothing and began to show your talent after you broke off the engagement with Shi Huidi. Ningxu's face was indifferent. He felt that this female disciple was really thinking too much. She was just a good-for-nothing. Why did she have to pretend? If Shi Huidi saw that her former fiancé was so outstanding, she would definitely regret it. The female disciple fell into her own fantasy. Ningxu. So what if she was powerful now? It was useless if she didn't have the looks of a male general. Face was very important. Junior brother Wei, did you get anything in the secret realm? The female disciple looked at Ningxu and asked, If you have something good, and I have something that you want, we can exchange. Ningxu looked at the female disciple and asked, What good things did you find? Take them out and let me see if there is anything I need. I will consider exchanging with you. The female disciple smiled stiffly. How can I find good things? It's just some low-level spiritual herbs. I haven't found any spiritual fruits yet. I haven't found a single spiritual fruit yet. Ningxu nodded and didn't answer. The female disciple said a few more words to Ningxu, and then left with an embarrassed expression. Didn't he just see that Lu Qingyang had given her a spiritual fruit? Now he was thinking about it. Did she really look like a fool? Chapter 271. Ningxu had a lot of good things in her hands, but that didn't mean that anyone could take things from her. Did she really look like a fool with a lot of money? The disciples were all very tired. They leaned against the tree to sleep or cultivated to replenish their strength. Ningxu knew that although she was very strong now, it was all thanks to the coiling dragon qi in her body. This qi could change a person's aptitude. To put it more scientifically, it could optimize genes. However, cultivating was like sailing against the current. Moreover, there was an extremely powerful male lead. If she didn't cultivate, she would be killed by him sooner or later. Now Ningxu understood. Even if she and Shi Huidi called off the engagement, Shi Huidi's reputation was still damaged. The reputation of a broken engagement was really bad. However, if her ex-fiancé died, it would be different. People would gradually forget about Wei Liangyue's existence. Who would keep thinking about a dead person? Shi Huidi wanted to be with Yu. To a certain extent, it could be said that she was a woman serving two men. Even in this world where strength was respected, There were still many restrictions and malice towards women. Therefore, no matter what, she would have to go against the male lead. Ningxu covered her face. It felt really strange to fight over a woman with a man. Lu Qingyang moved to Ningxu's side again. Ningxu asked, "Junior brother Wei, where are we going next?" "I'm waiting to directly leave the secret realm." Ningxu asked Lu Qingyang, "Where are you guys going?" Lu Qingyang looked left and right with a very mysterious look. Ningxu said, "You should know that this secret realm is actually a senfu left behind by a powerful cultivator." "I know." Ningxu nodded. Lu Qingyang said again, "Then you should know that this senfu actually needs to recognize a master. If you can become the master of this senfu, you can dig up all the treasures inside at will." Ningxu learned from 2333 that this was originally a plane that nurtured life, but it was enslaved by someone. Ningxu looked a little hesitant. It shouldn't be that easy to refine such a large space. Lu Qingyang looked at Ningxu and said, "Elder Wei didn't tell you about this. In fact, this senfu can recognize a master. As long as you have the jade token, you can become the master of this senfu." Ningxu really didn't know about this. With her ability, Father Wei just hoped that she could return alive. As for the senfu recognizing her as its master, Father Wei didn't even think about it. "How many jade tokens do you have?" Ningxu asked, guessing that Yi Yu had a jade token on him. Lu Qingyang said mysteriously, "There are 3 jade plates. You don't know yet, but there is actually a palace in this secret realm. As long as you gather all 3 jade plates, you can open it." Why couldn't he just gather all 7 of the 3 jade tokens to summon the divine dragon? "Oh." Ningxu didn't have any expression, as if he wasn't interested at all. Lu Qingyang was a little anxious. Ningxu asked, "Don't you want to know who can get the senfu?" Ningxu said lightly, "I can't get it anyway. Do you have a jade token?" "Junior brother Wei, you're joking. How can I get something like a jade token? I just want to see the palace in the secret realm." Lu Qingyang revealed his true purpose. He said that he wanted to see, but his heart was restless. In the face of such an amazing adventure, not many people could resist. Lu Qingyang thought that there would be a lot of danger on the way to the palace. And the closer he got to the center, the more powerful spirit beasts and treasures there would be. More than that, he wanted to see the senfu. Ningxu naturally saw through Lu Qingyang's thoughts. He said, "Since everyone knows about the senfu, how can you be sure that you can get it? Besides, do you know if the 3 jade tokens are gathered?" When he ran over to take a look, he couldn't even get through the door. "Junior brother, you still don't know. This year, all 3 jade tokens are gathered. Besides, the secret realm limits the cultivation of the people who enter, so the disciples who come in for the trial can't have high cultivation. Junior brother, let's fight together." Lu Qingyang's voice was bewitching. He wanted to pull Ningxu to snatch the senfu. Ningxu hesitated and immediately said, "Wealth comes from danger. Let's do it." Lu Qingyang immediately patted Ningxu's shoulder and laughed heartily. "If we work together sincerely, our chances of winning will be much higher." Well said, well said. Ningxu didn't think that she could get the senfu. This should be the male lead's opportunity. If she went, she would just cause trouble. If she could prevent the male lead from getting the senfu, Ningxu would be very happy. Besides, she still had to take revenge for being hunted down. This time, no matter what, she had to fight with the male lead. It would be best if she could kill him. At the very least, she could injure him and put him at a disadvantage in the senfu. Lu Qingyang told the others about the palace. They all agreed to go to the palace. Even if they couldn't snatch the senfu, there should be other treasures in the palace. There should be a lot of secret treasures in the palace. There were also many treasures on the way. Everyone decided to go to the palace in the center. They all looked at Ningxu's flash wind eagle. Ningxu directly let the flash wind eagle enter the spirit beast bag. He said lightly, "My spirit beast can't carry so many people. Let's walk. If we fly, it won't be good if we miss any treasures on the way." The faces of the disciples didn't look very good. They wanted to say something, but they were worried about Ningxu's fist. Lu Qingyang smiled and said, "We should walk. It won't be good if we miss any treasures." "Junior brother Wei, We don't have to ride the Flash Wind Eagle. Let the 2 junior sisters do it. It's not good for the 2 girls to walk over like this. One of the disciples said. The 2 female disciples looked at Ning Shu with expectant eyes. Ning Shu said lightly, "Since you don't want to go, you can wait for us here. That way, you won't be tired." She couldn't stand these people's righteous attitude. What did I owe you? Should the whole world be your mother? Should everyone spoil you? If the 2 of them wait here, something will happen. The spine iron wolf might come back. One of the male disciples frowned and looked at Ning Shu with an unkind expression. We are a team now. Why are you so selfish? Ning Shu pointed at his own nose and said in disbelief, I'm selfish. I don't even know you guys. Why should I give my things to you? I'm still lacking crystals. Give me your crystals. The disciple was stunned speechless. Ning Shu sneered and said, No matter how cheap you are, I don't have to follow you guys. Don't point fingers at me. Ning Shu turned and walked away quickly. Lu Qinyang quickly caught up with Ning Shu and pulled Ning Shu's arm. Ning Shu immediately shook off Lu Qinyang's hand. What are you doing? Junior brother Wei, your temper is a bit too big. Lu Qinyang said helplessly. Don't worry. No one can force you to do anything. However, we are a team. If there is danger, we can still help. Ning Shu arrogantly grunted. Chapter 272. He didn't know what Lu Qinyang said to them. But these people didn't look for trouble with Ning Shu anymore. At most, they just ignored Ning Shu. In the end, they just felt uncomfortable in their hearts. Wei Liangyue was obviously a weak chicken before, but now he was stronger than them. Moreover, they had to rely on this person everywhere. They were proud sons of heaven in Tiandao sect, but now, they had to be together with the trash. Naturally, their mentality was high and mighty, and they felt that Wei Liangyue should support them. Even if Wei Liangyue had become powerful, the image of a trash was deeply ingrained in their minds. They felt that it was shameful to be together with this trash. Ning Shu looked at these disciples and felt that the most scheming one should be Lu Qinyang, who had a round face and looked approachable. When he needed help, his attitude was especially upright. The other disciples had the arrogance of Tiandao sect's proud sons of heaven, and rarely spoke to him. However, Lu Qinyang was different. He spoke very sincerely to others. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't have a map to the palace, Ning Shu wouldn't want to go with these people at all. Ning Shu only had a very simple map given to him by Old Man Wei. As for the matter of the palace, it didn't involve him at all. Old Man Wei understood his son's ability very well. Even in his dreams, he didn't think that he would let his son rob the Senfu. The group of people went in the direction of the palace. Along the way, they plucked all the spirit herbs and spirit fruits they encountered. When they encountered good things, these people excluded Ning Shu. But generally, the heavenly treasures were guarded by spirit beasts. These people couldn't beat the spirit beasts themselves, so they immediately took out spirit fruits and gave them to Ning Shu, saying that it was for everyone to share. Ning Shu rolled his eyes and felt drunk. These people were really awkward and pretentious. They wanted someone to help them, but at the same time, they were guarding against him. If they could beat the spirit beasts, they wouldn't share the heavenly treasures with them. If they couldn't beat the spirit beasts, they would immediately give something to Ning Shu, and let Ning Shu help them beat the spirit beasts. To put it bluntly, he didn't treat Ning Shu as someone on the same level. Ning Shu took the spirit fruit from Lu Qinyang and put it in his storage bag. He clenched his fist and punched the snake-like spirit beast. This spirit beast's defense was very strong. Lu Qinyang and the others had been fighting for a long time, but still couldn't kill it. Ning Shu felt as if he had punched a tire. The snake did not suffer any damage. Ning Shu took out his long sword and used his qi to pierce through the snake's head. Then, Ning Shu used his qi to slash the snake's body from head to tail, exposing its white and smelly snake flesh. Blood splattered everywhere. Ning Shu sliced a snake in half. The flash wind eagle flew down from the sky and grabbed the snake's body with its claws. Clearly, it was treating the snake as its food. Ugh! When the 2 female disciples saw such a bloody scene, in addition to the smelly snake blood, they immediately vomited while leaning against a tree. The few male disciples looked at Ning Shu, with eyes full of vigilance and scrutiny. Was this still the same trash? How could he be so powerful? The 6 of them couldn't break through the snake's defense, but Wei Liangyue pierced through the snake's body like he was piercing through paper. It was as if he didn't use any strength at all. They didn't see him use his qi either. Could he really be that strong? Ning Shu wiped the blood off his sword and put it in his storage bag. Lu Qinyang's eyes flickered as he said in surprise, "Junior brother Wei, you are so powerful. How did you get the title of trash? Others are jealous that I have a fiancé like Shi Huidi and say that I'm trash and not worthy of her." Ning Shu said indifferently, "When did I admit that I'm trash?" Lu Qinyang sighed. It seemed that everyone said that Wei Liangyue was trash, and then everyone thought that Wei Liangyue was trash. No one knew whether Wei Liangyue was trash or not, but Wei Liangyue's cowardly appearance showed that he was trash. Damn! Lu Qinyang was about to be confused. He felt that Wei Liangyue was really a scheming person. He carried the title of trash for so long and fooled around with women every day. What was he planning? After the 2 female disciples finished vomiting, their faces were pale. They said to Ning Shu, "Junior brother, next time before you make a move, tell us first." Ning Shu looked at their weak appearance and felt a deep fear in his heart. Damn, she was also a woman. Why didn't she feel anything when facing such a situation? She didn't feel uncomfortable at all. Could it be that she stayed in a man's body for so long that even her thoughts had been assimilated? Ning Shu immediately said, "Actually, I also feel disgusted by such a scene." And yes, in order to prove that he was a weak woman, Ning Shu repeatedly emphasized that he was also not used to such a scene. The 2 female disciples saw Ning Shu's sincere appearance, and their expressions became better. One of them even teased Ning Shu. Junior brother Wei's appearance when he killed the snake was very handsome. Even senior sister was mesmerized by him. Ning Shu, please don't. Along the way, Ning Shu obtained a lot of things. The others also had some gains, but not as much as Ning Shu. For example, some of the spirit beasts were too strong. Ning Shu killed the spirit beasts and took the spirit fruits. He didn't think about sharing them with the others. Afraid of Ning Shu's strength, the others didn't say anything. If they were the ones who killed the spirit beasts, Ning Shu wouldn't take their things. Everyone was at peace. Just when everyone was exhausted, they finally arrived at the palace. Ning Shu looked at the palace. It was quite majestic. There were 2 huge stone lions at the entrance. They were almost as tall as the door. Moreover, the stone lion carvings were very ferocious and looked very frightening. There were already a lot of people gathered around. The arrival of Ning Shu's group didn't attract much attention. Most people glanced at them indifferently. Lu Qinyang looked at so many people inside. Ning Shu said, "It seems that many people have received the news and rushed over to fight for the Senfu." Ning Shu glanced around and didn't see Yi Yu or his harem. Instead, he saw a very beautiful woman. This woman's facial features were very delicate, but she had a pair of peach blossom eyes. When she looked at people, it made people's heart itch, as if there were feathers gently tickling it. If it was a man, his first reaction when he saw this woman would be to have sex with her. Ning Shu's first reaction when he saw this woman was another one of the male lead's women. Charming and affectionate, but deep in her eyes, there was a penetrating coldness. Stop looking. This woman is the chief disciple of the blood refining sect. She is very powerful, and her martial arts are very cruel. Lu Qinyang saw Ning Shu staring at the woman and quickly said, "Stop looking. If you provoke her, especially a man, you will die miserably." Blood refining sect. Hearing such a bloody name, it was probably some kind of evil sect. Ning Shu asked, "Who is she?" "You. Lu Qinyang whispered to Ning Shu. Chapter 273. Lu Qinyang frowned when he saw Yu. His expression was somewhat unsightly. Logically speaking, Yu shouldn't be able to enter the secret realm with her strength. How did she manage to enter? Ning Shu, on the other hand, didn't care about Yu strength. He said indifferently, "She must have used something to conceal her strength. She must have hidden her own cultivation. Lu Qinyang felt that his chances of getting into the Senfu had decreased again. Moreover, who knew how many people with high cultivation were mixed in here? How stifling. After that, more people arrived one after another. Ning Shu kept waiting for Yi Yu to arrive. However, there were many people gathered at the entrance of the palace. The male lead didn't come. He estimated that he would only arrive at the end, when everyone was looking at him. Chirp chirp. A clear and melodious bird cry sounded. Everyone looked over and saw several people standing on top of a bright red bird. The men were beautiful, and the women were beautiful. They were like immortals descending to the mortal world. Yi Yufeng, who was standing at the very front, was very handsome. On his left and right stood two beauties. One of them was a woman with a veil on her face. Her temperament was even more outstanding, making people want to take off her veil to see just how beautiful she was. Ling Yuanyuan looked at Yi Yu in front of her. She flirted with her hair and narrowed her peach blossom eyes. Yi Yu, you old thief, eat this young master's fist. Everyone was still immersed in this beautiful scene when a hoarse voice sounded in their ears. They immediately came back to their senses. They felt that this brat really knew how to ruin the atmosphere. Ning Shu's angry roar broke Yi Yu's invisible pretentiousness. Then, he jumped up from the ground and raised his fist to smash Yi Yu. When Yi Yu saw Ning Shu, he was stunned. The ant that he thought was dead was actually still alive. And now, he was actually raising his fist to hit him. It was simply too funny. The sudden appearance of Yi Yu made Shi Huidi and Yin Jiao very surprised. Yi Yu swore that this big bitch was already dead. Ning Shu saw that Yi Yu was just casually clenching his fist, as if he wanted to bump fists with hers. Ning Shu sneered in her heart. She sank her chi into her dantian, and the golden coiling dragon chi in her dantian swam even faster. Her whole body was filled with strength, and she suddenly collided with Yi Yu's fist. Ning Shu's expression suddenly changed, and Yi Yu's arm made a slight cracking sound. Yi Yu's arm was fractured. Yi Yu's expression changed. He had been too careless. He felt as if his fist had collided with black iron. This trash actually had such great strength. Ning Shu withdrew her fist and directly extended her leg to kick the divine beast below them, directly flipping over the phoenix. The phoenix's body was somewhat uncontrollable, and it spun a little. However, the person on its back was unlucky and fell down. Yi Yu's expression was gloomy as he flew down with a beauty in his arms. He coldly looked at Ning Shu, but his heart was filled with shock. His physical body was very strong. Aside from cultivating vitality, he had also obtained an ancient body refining secret manual. Yi Yu was very confident in his physical strength, but now, when he exchanged fists with Wei Liangyue, his bones were actually shattered by the opponent's strength, and the opponent was completely fine. Wei Liangyue was so strong. Ning Shu rolled up her sleeves and pointed at Yi Yu. You bastard! You should have chased after this young master. If this young master doesn't teach you a lesson today, you will think this young master is easy to bully. Aren't you dead? Why are you here? Yin Jiao angrily shouted at Ning Shu. Her expression was particularly vexed. You are not a big. How can a big be so powerful? Little girl, if you call me big again, I will really do something to you. Ning Shu glanced at Ning Yanjiao. Speaking of which, you are quite pretty as a little chili pepper. You are shameless. Yin Jiao pointed her whip at Ning Shu. She was so angry that her body was trembling. Yi Yu extended his hand in front of Yin Jiao and coldly looked at Ning Shu. His eyes were filled with sharp killing intent, and he indifferently said, Wei Liangyue, what's the point of bullying a woman? Yi Yu, who do you think you are? At this time, you still need a woman to stand up for you. Ning Shu retorted sarcastically. Chirp chirp. The divine beast phoenix that was kicked by Ning Shu rushed towards Ning Shu. Its entire body was covered in scorching flames. Obviously, it was bearing a grudge against Ning Shu for kicking Ning Shu. When Ning Shu saw the phoenix rushing towards him, he didn't dodge. Instead, he directly stretched out his fist to meet it head-on. Ning Shu wanted to know where the limit of his strength was. When his fist landed on the phoenix's head, Ning Shu felt as if he had hit a piece of scorching and hard iron. Although Ning Shu's hand was burned by the phoenix's flames, the phoenix's head was hit by Ning Shu. It was immediately sent flying. As it flew, It swayed and fell to the ground with a plop. Obviously, it was knocked out by Ning Shu. Little flame. Yi Yu's expression changed. He ran over and kept the divine beast into the spiritual beast pouch. With a face full of killing intent, he looked at Ning Shu and said, Wei Liangyue, you are very good. Thank you for the compliment. This is the reward for chasing after me. Don't think that I am a persimmon that you can pinch as you wish. You want to kill me to please my woman? Keep dreaming. As Ning Shu spoke, he blew on his hand. His hand was burned by the phoenix's flames. Sure enough, Yi Yu's spirit pets were all tough bones. After taking a punch from her, Yi Yu was fine. The phoenix only fainted. Seeing how powerful Ning Shu was, Yin Jiao was so shocked that her mouth opened wide. She pointed at Ning Shu and said, Are you still Wei Liangyue the Big? Senior sister, is he Wei Liangyue? Yin Jiao turned to look at Shi and asked. Wei Liangyue gave her an unreal feeling, as if a toad had turned into a prince. Shi glanced at Ning Shu with a complicated expression and said indifferently, I am not familiar with him. Shi was speaking the truth. Although she was engaged to Wei Liangyue, they didn't have any interactions. Moreover, Shi knew that her fiancé was that kind of person. She even intentionally avoided meeting him. Therefore, she was basically a stranger to Wei Liangyue. Yin Jiao glared at Ning Shu with hatred. She thought that this person was so powerful, and deliberately played with her at the entrance of the secret realm. He was really a big. Since you want to fight, I will accompany you. I want to see how powerful you are. Yi Yu had a deep fear of this second-generation hedonistic son of rich parents. Xiaohua had actually suffered a loss in his hands. Little Flame was too careless. If it spat out the phoenix's true flames at the beginning, it would definitely burn him into charcoal. Ning Shu raised his hand and said loudly, I am injured now. Does the handsome Yi Yu want to take advantage of me? Aren't you afraid of losing face in front of so many beauties? Yi Yu looked at Ning Shu coldly. His eyes were calm. There was no longer any killing intent and anger. In his heart, he had already treated this person as an enemy on the same level. They were destined to be enemies because of Shi. Chapter 274. Right now, Yi Yu hated Wei Liangyue even more than before. In the past, Wei Liangyue was just a good-for-nothing. But now Wei Liangyue was very powerful. Yi Yu was worried that Shi would regret her decision. Yi Yu knew that Shi was an incomparably cold woman. This kind of woman was extremely attractive to men. Yi Yu liked Shi a lot. If Shi wanted to be with Wei Liangyue, Yi Yu wouldn't be able to tolerate it. No man would be able to tolerate the woman they liked being under another man's body. Therefore, he had to settle things with Wei Liangyue. It would be best if he could kill Wei Liangyue. I don't care what you guys want. Yu 11, who was watching the battle from the side, walked over. Her posture was graceful and enchanting. When she walked over, she brought along a fragrance that was intoxicating. Yu 11 walked in front of Yi Yu. She stretched out her jade-white fingers. Her fingers were painted with a bright red color, which made her skin look even fairer. She pointed at Yi Yu seductively. I have a premonition that the jade token is on you. Take it out. Entering the palace is more important. Now that we have nothing, what can we gain from fighting? Yi Yu reached out and grabbed Yu 11's fingers. He revealed a smile, which made his face look even more handsome. Yu 11, whose fingers were grabbed, was startled. She wanted to withdraw her hand, but this man grabbed it tightly. Yu 11 was incomparably angry. There had never been a man so daring to get close to her, and even grab her hand like this. Let go. Yu 11 snorted coldly. However, there was a charming and enchanting smile on her face. There seemed to be venom surging in the depths of her eyes. Yi Yu smiled indifferently. It was really challenging to subdue this kind of poisonous beauty. What if I don't let go? It's fine if you don't let go. I will make you beg for death. Yu 11 smiled exceptionally brightly. Ning Shu, now. He threw her aside and flirted with another woman in front of his own harem. She wondered how Shi and Yin Jiao felt now. When Yin Jiao and little Hunyo saw this scene, they pouted and stomped their feet. Although they were a little jealous, they weren't really angry or sad. Shi was still cold and cheerless, as if she didn't feel anything about this scene. Ning Shu realized that as a woman, she couldn't understand what these women were thinking. Yi Yu and Yu Wenwen were very close to each other. It felt as if their ears were rubbing against each other. Sensing Yi Yu's manly aura, Yu Wenwen panicked for a moment. She completely forgot that she was an expert and didn't know how to resist. Yi Yu smiled indifferently and let go of Yu Wenwen's finger. He took out a spotlessly white rectangular jade tablet from his storage pouch. If you are looking for this thing, I happen to have it. Ning Shu stared with wide eyes at Yi Yu flirting with a girl. As expected, appearance was very important. If Yi Yu was ugly, Yu Wenwen would have beaten him to death long ago. How could they still be so flirtatious? Yu Wenwen's face was a little red. She glared at Yi Yu, then asked the surrounding people. 2 jade tablets have already appeared. Who has the other jade tablet? Everyone looked at each other. Finally, a man in a long robe stood out, holding an identical jade tablet in his hand. Now that 3 jade tablets had appeared, they only had to wait for the palace to open. The atmosphere instantly became tense. The 3 people holding the jade tablets stood at the entrance of the palace and placed the jade tablets in a special mechanism. The disciples of Tiandao sect all followed behind Ning Shu. Ning Shu's strength had shocked all the disciples of Tiandao sect. Until now, they still had a look of disbelief on their faces. Junior brother Wei, let's go in together. The more people there are, the more we can take care of each other. Lu Qinyang said to Ning Shu, his eyes staring at the entrance of the palace without blinking. Ning Shu didn't speak. His eyes were fixed on the 2 huge and ferocious stone lions. She didn't know if it was an illusion or not, but Ning Shu actually saw the eyes of the stone lions move. It seemed like they were about to come to life and had a strong aura. The heavy door of the palace slowly opened. Yi Yu, Yu Wenwen, and the man in a long robe took the jade tablets and quickly rushed into the palace. When everyone saw the 3 of them enter, they also rushed inside. Just as they rushed to the entrance, a stone lion actually raised its foot and stomped on them. The alert people immediately dodged, but those who couldn't dodge in time were trampled into meat paste by the stone lion. Even the sound of bones breaking could be heard. The others suddenly stopped and looked at the stone lion that was as tall as the palace. Their eyes revealed a look of horror. Ning Shu let out a long breath. Fortunately, he was alert and didn't rush inside. The stone lion ignored the 3 people who had the jade tablets. Obviously, only those who had the jade tablets could enter the palace. With such 2 large stone lions guarding, it seemed that it was very difficult to enter the palace. Even if they entered, it would be too late. Lu Qinyang was speechless. Before, he wanted to compete for the Senfu, but now he found that he didn't even have the qualifications to compete for the Senfu. It was really a pain in the ass. Ning Shu was not in a hurry. There were many people with high cultivation in the crowd. Faced with such a great temptation like the Senfu, they had to give it a try. Sure enough, it didn't take long for someone to attack the stone lions. But the stone lions were really too big. Compared to them, people were as big as birds. The stone lions dutifully blocked the people who wanted to enter. 2 stone lions blocked the entrance of the palace, making it impossible for people to enter. Damn it! Lu Qinyang was very annoyed. Ning Shu saw that so many people couldn't do anything to the stone lions. She had to go in. Otherwise, Yi would definitely succeed. With the Senfu as his trump card, and the treasures and resources in this space, Yi would be even more difficult to deal with in the future. Yi, who was already powerful, could kill even gods and Buddhas who stood in his way. Ning Shu flew onto the stone lion's head. The stone lion immediately went berserk, but its stiff body was unable to move Ning Shu. Ning Shu tried to push the stone lion down, but the stone lion was very heavy. Ning Shu only managed to move it slightly. When the others saw Ning Shu's actions, they all flew onto the stone lion's head and worked together to push the stone lion down. Ning Shu, who had no other choice, took out a thumb-sized spirit marrow crystal from her storage bag and swallowed it. Suddenly, a terrifying wave of spiritual energy swept through her body, causing Ning Shu's body to swell. In the next second, it seemed like it would burst out of her body. The golden coiling dragon energy in her dantian began to absorb the terrifying amount of spiritual energy, as if it could absorb an endless amount of spiritual energy. Ningxu shouted, and used her energy to push the stone lion to the ground. The stone lion hit the ground with a bang, and even the palace trembled. The stone lion that was pushed to the ground moved its limbs, but it couldn't stand up on its own. Ningxu flew onto the head of another stone lion. When the others saw Ningxu coming over, they immediately moved aside. It was so fierce that it was practically a beast in human form. Chapter 275. Ningxu circulated her dantian, kicked over the huge stone lion, and rushed into the palace. The others rushed into the palace like a swarm of bees. As soon as Ningxu entered the palace, she was dumbfounded. There were many entrances in front of her, and she didn't know which one to enter. When everyone came in, they frowned when they saw so many entrances. Lu Qinyang moved to Ningxu's side and asked, "Which one should we take?" "Why are you asking me? I don't know either. Just pick one." Ningxu also frowned. She didn't know how Yi Yu was doing. She was afraid that Yi Yu was about to refine the senfu. Many people who were proficient in array formations began to calculate which entrance to enter from. Ningxu was anxious. She closed her eyes and pointed with her finger. When she opened her eyes and saw the finger pointing at the entrance, she would enter from that entrance. When the others saw Ningxu's willful behavior, they all shook their heads. When Lu Qinyang saw Ningxu leave, he had no choice but to find an entrance and enter. The other Tiandao sect disciples followed behind him. Ningxu rushed into the entrance, and many spirit beasts pounced on her. Ningxu's fists smashed on the bodies of these spirit beasts. The spirit beasts were defeated by her, and turned into heaven and earth yuan qi. Then they turned into spirit beasts. There was an endless number of them, and she couldn't kill them all. Although these spirit beasts formed from heaven and earth yuan qi didn't cause much damage to Ningxu, they slowed her down. Ningxu waved her fists and rushed inside. The endless spirit beasts rushed towards her. Ningxu coldly snorted and took out her long sword. These spirit beasts formed from heaven and earth yuan qi were defeated by the tip of Ningxu's sword. In the end, they finally made it through the first stage, only to be met with another stone golem formation. Every stone golem held a spear in their hands. Although their movements looked slow, they were extremely fast. Ningxu stabbed at them. Ningxu kicked the stone man to pieces, picked up the spear on the ground, and hit the stone men one by one, smashing the stone men into pieces. These stone men blocked Ningxu from passing through the palace. Ningxu stepped on the heads of these stone men, and quickly flew to the other side. If they continued fighting like this, they would die of exhaustion sooner or later. When Ningxu exited the stone man's array, he suddenly heard a cry. It was a cry of endless pain, as if it had been subjected to some inhumane torture. This voice belonged to a man. Could something have happened to Yi Yu? Ningxu quickened his pace and prepared to run in the direction of the sound, but he was stopped. The palace was filled with snakes of all sizes and colors. On the ground, on the pillars, there were snakes everywhere. Many snakes were entangled together, and there was no place to step in the entire palace. The air was filled with the hissing of snakes sticking out their tongues, and it was filled with an incomparably fishy smell. Ningxu's face turned green, and goosebumps appeared all over his body. His trypophobia was acting up. These snakes had been locked in this palace, and they kept breeding. There were more and more of them, and it was simply a snake cave. Fuck, this is too disgusting. When the snakes sensed that an unfamiliar creature had entered the palace, they surged towards Ningxu. With so many snakes crawling over together, Ningxu's hair stood on end. It was too fucking terrifying. Ningxu didn't want to be entangled with these snakes at all. Furthermore, the wailing sound was starting to weaken, and he didn't know what was going on. Ningxu took out her long sword and killed the snakes that wanted to entangle her. Then she took out some poison from her storage bag and sprinkled it on the bodies of the snakes. As soon as the poison powder came into contact with the snakes, their bodies turned over and died. Although these snakes were dead, they were devoured by the other snakes. These snakes didn't even have time to deal with Ningxu. They first swallowed the dead snakes, but after swallowing the poisoned snakes, they stopped breathing, and were quickly devoured by other snakes. Ningxu took out the poison from his storage bag. He covered his nose and sprinkled the powder everywhere. The snakes that came into contact with the poison all turned over and gradually died. Ningxu hurriedly ran. The room was filled with snakes, and it was terrifying to look at. Before Ningxu could escape, something thick like a tail swept towards him. Ningxu quickly dodged the attack. He focused his eyes and saw that there was a snake hidden in the shadows. This snake was very large, and its body was as thick as a man's waist. The snake's body was almost 2 feet tall. The snake's body was pitch black, but its eyes were red. It looked down at Ningxu and stuck out its forked tongue, confronting Ningxu. Ningxu took a deep breath. Immediately, a fishy smell spread through his nose to his lungs. He wanted to take a deep breath, but all he smelled was the stench. He almost vomited. Ningxu couldn't take it anymore. It was too smelly, too disgusting. Ningxu took the initiative to attack. He held a long sword in his hand and stabbed the tip of the sword towards the snake's head. The giant snake used its strong and powerful tail to sweep towards Ningxu. Ningxu dodged the tail and raised his long sword to stab at the snake's head. The giant snake spat out red-hot lava. Ningxu quickly dodged, but his clothes were still burned. Ningxu saw that his skin was red and swollen. He quickly threw the sword in his hand at the snake's head. The sharp spirit artifact sword, coupled with Ningxu's strength, directly pierced through the snake's head. Smelly blood splattered. The giant snake frantically struggled. Its huge body broke the pillars. The little snakes in the palace seemed to be sticking out their forked tongues. They seemed to have sensed something that made them excited. They actually swarmed towards the giant snake. The giant snake was covered with little snakes. These little snakes actually wanted to devour the giant snake. Ningxu's scalp exploded. Goosebumps appeared all over his body. He didn't even want his long sword. He turned around and ran. Was the purpose of these snakes guarding the checkpoint to disgust people? Ningxu rushed out of the snake palace and entered a spacious palace. There were 3 people in the palace. Ningxu saw Yiyu in front of Yuanwan. Not far away, a man in a green robe was lying on the ground. His whole body was spasming. He was howling in grief. His body was twitching at an unnatural angle. The man's facial features were distorted. His eyes, nose, and lips were bleeding. He was bleeding from all 7 orifices. Ayo ayo ayo. The man howled in pain. Finally, his body twitched violently. His eyes were wide open. He was no longer breathing. Why did he see such a scene as soon as he entered? Ningxu was disappointed that the one who died wasn't Yiyu. There were only 3 people with jade tokens in this palace. Other than Ningxu, no one else had entered. Seeing the man die, Yuanwan's face turned pale. Clearly, seeing someone die in such a painful manner in front of her made Yuanwan very afraid. She couldn't help but want to get closer to Yiyu. Yiyu turned his head and saw Ningxu. His pupil shrank. He said coldly, "You actually came in." Ningxu calmly brushed his hair aside and said, "You came in, why can't I?" Ningxu looked at the man on the ground in pain. It seems that the senfu isn't that easy to get. Chapter 276. Yiyu's heart was once again filled with dread towards Wei Liangyue. The others had yet to come in, but she actually took the lead and ran in first. Although her clothes didn't cover her body and she looked battered, she wasn't injured. Ningxu suddenly thought of Shi Huidi and said to Yiyu, "Why did you leave your senior and junior sisters outside and come in alone? You should know that these checkpoints are very dangerous." Yiyu's expression changed. He did not expect that Shi Huidi and Yan Jiao, as well as 2 other competitors, would want to obtain the senfu. Now that Ningxu said it out loud, Yiyu was very angry. Tisk tsk. You really love everyone you see and dump them. Ningxu mocked Yiyu. Ningxu looked around the palace and found that there was a round object floating in the middle of the palace. It was the size of a soccer ball and was spinning. Its surface flashed with a complicated and dazzling light. What the hell was this? "Beauty, may I know how this person died?" Ningxu asked Yuanwan. Yuanwan could see that Ningxu was not weak. She said coldly, "You overestimated yourself. You wanted to blood bond with the senfu first, and you ended up like this." The three people with the jade pendants rushed into the palace. Because they had the jade pendants, it was very easy to pass through the checkpoints. Basically, the things guarding the checkpoints would not attack the people with the jade pendants. The robed man who was walking at the front didn't say a word. He sent his consciousness into the core of Holy Realm Dweller's mansion, which was the soccer-sized sphere. However, he didn't know what happened and died just like that. It was probably the Senfu's backlash. It was enough to show that the Senfu did not recognize this man as its master. Ningxu frowned. How could the Senfu's backlash be so terrifying? His soul was absorbed by something. 2333's voice rang in Ningxu's mind. He then said, "Look at how big the core of this realm is. It seems that it will disappear soon. Isn't it bad to be bigger? Why would it dissipate when it's bigger?" Ningxu asked, somewhat puzzled. The system explained, the bigger the core, the looser the structure inside. Sooner or later, it will disperse. The more solidified it is, the smaller the volume. Trash plane. Ningxu asked, "Are you saying that his soul is gone? Was it devoured by something? Could it be that the core of the plane devoured his soul?" "I don't know about that," 2333 said and disappeared. Ningxu heard from 2333 that the robed man's soul was gone. Ningxu wanted to let Yiyu go. It would be best if the core could absorb Yiyu's soul. Ningxu bared his teeth and said to Yiyu, "Since you guys are not going to blood bond with the Senfu, it would be impolite of me to refuse." Yu Wenwen heard that Ningxu wanted to blood bond with the Senfu and said with a cold face, "Senior brother, you don't have a jade tablet. How can you blood bond with the Senfu?" Ningxu spread his hands and said to Yu and Yu Wenwen, "Who said that only those with a jade tablet can blood bond with the Senfu?" The person with the jade tablet suffered a backlash in the end. "Since I am here, it means that I am fated with this Senfu. The treasures belong to the fated person, and I am that fated person. With me here, Wei Liangyue, you won't have the chance to blood bond with the Senfu," Yiyu said coldly to Ningxu. He then turned to Yu Wenwen and said, "Yuan, go blood bond with the Senfu." "Yuan?" Ningxu looked at the two of them. How long has it been since they met? The way they addressed each other was so intimate. Yiyu's flirting skills couldn't be underestimated. With the example of the long-robed man, Yu Wenwen hesitated. She felt that the Senfu was difficult to blood bond with. Moreover, Yu Wenwen didn't believe that Yiyu would give the Senfu to her. "What if I blood bond with the Senfu?" Yu Wenwen asked Yiyu. She was like a little girl testing her lover. Yiyu smiled and said gently, "Since you blood bond with the Senfu, it means that this Senfu should be yours. Moreover, there are many treasures and fortunes in this world. If you don't have the Senfu, you will find something better next time." Yu Wenwen blushed and said, "Are you serious?" "Of course." Yiyu nodded firmly. Ningxu was speechless. Ningxu realized that he was being ignored again. This public display of affection made Ningxu want to burn the two of them to death. Yu Wenwen took a deep breath and shook her head. "I don't think I can blood bond with the Senfu. You should blood bond with it. I will guard it for you. No one can hurt you." Yu Wenwen looked at Ningxu with vigilance. "I can feel that this Senfu should belong to you. Don't doubt my feelings. They are very accurate. This is a talent that can predict the future." Yu Wenwen looked at Yiyu with a gentle gaze. Yuan, thank you." Yiyu couldn't help but hold Yu Wenwen's hand. Yu Wenwen smiled and said, "Hurry up and blood bond with the Senfu." Ningxu thought, "I'm being ignored again. I'm only watching Yiyu flirt with girls." Just as Yiyu was about to blood bond with the Senfu, someone rushed into the hall. When the person saw the core, he immediately shouted, Senfu. More and more people rushed into the hall. When they saw the spinning core, everyone's eyes glowed with passion. Ningxu looked. Although many people came in, he estimated that more people died in the checkpoint. There were a lot of people in the beginning. Now there were less than 1/10 of them. The weak ones were all dead. When they saw the core, some people tried to invade the core with their consciousness. They wanted to blood bond with the Senfu, but the result was the same as the long-robed man. The person who was devoured by the Senfu clutched his head. His eyes bulged and blood flowed out of his orifices. In the end, he fell to the ground and died. Many people fell to the ground one after another, calming down the crowd. The hall was quiet. Everyone looked at the spinning core in horror. They didn't expect this to happen. Ning Shu looked at these people's corpses. His pupils were dilated. Their souls were really devoured by something. Ning Shu stared at the spinning core. He guessed that maybe the owner of the senfu wasn't dead, and was hiding in the core. As long as someone tried to blood bond with the senfu, their soul would be devoured. If it encountered a talented person, it would probably take over the body. Ning Shu glanced at Yi Yu. People came in one after another. Seeing more and more people in the hall, Yi Yu's expression turned ugly. Yu Wenwen comforted Yi Yu. It doesn't matter how many people there are. This senfu will be yours in the end. Please believe in my feelings. Yi Yu smiled at Yu Wenwen. Ning Shu didn't look at the lovey-dovey scene between the two of them. Instead, she saw Shi Huidi and little Hunyo Yin Jiao in the crowd. These two people were very calmly watching the man they liked being lovey-dovey with another woman. Chapter 277. Some people didn't give up and still wanted to immerse their consciousness into the core. But the result was the same, and they died very miserably. One after another, inhuman screams sounded in the palace, causing everyone to keep quiet out of fear. This thing was too evil. Ning Shu didn't find any disciples of the Tiandao sect in the crowd. Could it be that they were all wiped out? If these disciples really died, the Tiandao sect would tremble in heartache. They could be considered the most talented disciples of the Tiandao sect. Hopefully they were fine. After all, Old Man Wei was an elder of the Tiandao sect. Ning Shu didn't have any sense of belonging to the Tiandao sect. Ning Shu moved to the side of Yin Jiao and asked her, "How does it feel to see the man you like being intimate with another woman?" Yin Jiao was obviously shocked by Ning Shu. Seeing that it was Wei Liangyue, this big pervert, she immediately frowned and said hatefully, "None of your business. TSK, I really sympathize with you. If I were you, I would go up and give you two big slaps, then kick the place 3 inches below his navel." Ning Shu said. Shi Huidi looked at Ning Shu coldly, then shifted her gaze away, and ignored Ning Shu. Yin Jiao said very disdainfully, "You speak as if you are a good thing. Didn't you also spoil so many women? Luckily for others, Senior Brother Yi is a very good person. It's normal for women to like him. Senior Brother Yi respects women a lot. Such a gentle person like him can't be compared to you." Ning Shu. Alright, these girls who were shrouded in the male lead's halo, their thoughts were very strange. As long as they saw the male lead, they would be attracted to him. Moreover, they would have no complaints and no regrets, deeply loving the male lead. They were also very glad that there were so many sisters who liked Yi Yu like them. Ning Shu shook his head, coughed and broke the silence in the palace and said, "Since no one has a way to refine the senfu, this young master will give it a try." Yi Yu saw that Ning Shu was actually standing together with Yin Jiao and Shi Huidi. His face immediately sank and walked over. Yu Wenwen immediately followed by Yi Yu's side. "Senior sister, Yin Jiao, it's great that you guys are fine." Yi Yu looked at the two people with concern, Yin Jiao's mouth, and said with jealousy, "I'm afraid that you didn't even think about us. Now that you have such a beauty by your side, you already forgot about me and senior sister. You bad." Hearing Yin Jiao's words, Yi Yu knew that this outspoken junior sister wasn't angry, but he didn't know what the incomparably cold Shi Huidi was thinking. Yi Yu glanced at Ning Shu, and Ning Shu immediately said, "What are you looking at me for? Could it be that you think there is something between me and this little chili? I don't like this little she-wolf, always chasing after me and biting me." "Wei Liangyue, what did you say? Who is the little she-wolf? I will kill you." Yin Jiao pointed at Ning Shu and shouted hatefully. Yi Yu didn't suspect that there was something between Yin Jiao and Wei Liangyue, but he suspected that there was something between Wei Liangyue and Shi Huidi. After all, they were once engaged. Yi Yu suddenly knew what Shi Huidi was thinking, and Yi Yu felt that he was being teased by Shi Huidi's attitude. She seemed to treat him a little special, but at the same time, there wasn't anything special. It was just like an ordinary senior sister and junior brother. The miserable screams in the palace continued. Although so many people had died, Everyone felt that they were special, that they were favored by the heavens, and in addition, they couldn't resist the desire in their hearts to join the Senfu. So one after another, they threw away their lives. Ning Shu squeezed his consciousness into the inner core, and immediately, he felt a gloomy and cold aura entering his soul. The force was so strong that it wanted to pull his soul out of his body, and there was a huge attractive force that wanted to suck his soul into the inner core. Obediently offer your soul to the god. Your soul is very strong, unprecedentedly strong. An old voice sounded in Ning Shu's consciousness, and Ning Shu didn't enter the inner core, immediately withdrawing his consciousness. Even so, his soul was still exhausted, and his back was drenched in cold sweat. Yu Wenwen looked at Ning Shu's appearance, and was surprised that this person didn't die. The people who wanted to form a blood bond with the Senfu were all dead. This person's strength really couldn't be underestimated. Fuck, my spiritual power isn't good enough. I can't even enter the inner core, Ning Shu cursed. Yu Wenwen heard Ning Shu's words, and immediately felt that he was overthinking. No wonder he didn't die. Even his consciousness couldn't enter the inner core. Don't waste your time. You won't be able to obtain this Senfu, Yu Wenwen said very confidently, clearly believing in his own feelings. Ning Shu shrugged and didn't speak. He felt that his soul was exhausted, and that in just a few moments, he had used up a lot of his spiritual power. But Ning Shu had gotten what he wanted, and there was indeed something wrong with the inner core. He was afraid that the jade tablet was the soul's doing, and that it was all to lure people here. Seeing Ning Shu return with a crushing defeat, Yi Yu sneered, and his consciousness entered the inner core. But not long after, Yi Yu's face began to look ferocious. Yu Wenwen and Yin Jiao looked at Yi Yu nervously, and even the cold Shi Huidi looked at Yi Yu. Ning Shu looked at Yi Yu, and with Yi Yu's luck and power, he was afraid that he could kill this soul and obtain the Senfu. Ning Shu pursed his lips, and in his mind he asked 2333. You said last time that the dimension was born, can you go there? What do you want? Why are you asking this? 2333 asked. Ning Shu said, I'm asking if you can go or not. Well, you really can't go, Ning Shu said with disdain. He saw Yi Yu's mouth was bleeding, and he was probably fighting with the soul. Ning Shu asked 2333, can you go or not? I can go, but I don't have enough energy, 2333 said after a moment of silence. You absorbed so many spirit marrow crystals, and you still don't have enough energy? Ning Shu thought the system was very cunning. 2333 said gloomily, this kind of energy is not enough for us to go to the place where the dimension is born. If you give me the chaos stones, I will have enough energy, 2333 said. Ning Shu thought 2333, the system only cared about his chaos stones. It seemed that chaos stones were really good things. Ning Shu said calmly, system, there are some things that I don't want to be calculative about, but don't treat me like a fool. When the time comes, I will complain about you. You cheated players of their things, and you used a loophole in the system to exchange for things for me. When the time comes, you should prepare to go back to the recycle bin. I exchanged for things for you, and you are so ungrateful. I don't have enough energy to save you. You said you would help me find energy, but now you're going back on your word. You want my help. Give me a chaos stone. And you threaten me like this. Ning Shu, what do you take me for? I may be a mainframe, but you can't bully me like this. 2333's voice was full of anger. Ning Shu was speechless. Fuck, why do I feel so guilty? Chapter 278. In the end, Ning Shu and the system came to an agreement. He gave the fist-sized chaos stone to the system, and the system brought Ning Shu to the place where the planar space was growing. Yi was still fighting with the spirit body. Not only was Yi spitting out blood, but his eyes were also bleeding. Clearly the battle was very intense. A dusky spirit body in Yi's consciousness was clamoring for Yi to give up his body. It wanted to use Yi's body to create an unprecedented legend. Yi was proud and arrogant. He only wanted to kill the person who wanted to steal his body. Not only did he want to kill this old fart, but he also wanted to obtain the Senfu. Yi raised his head, and his body emitted a powerful aura. He roared like thunder. You want my body? Dream on. Die for me first. Yi Yu spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was sinister, and the veins on his forehead were popping out. He looked like he was in extreme pain. Ning Shu saw Yi Yu in this state. Now was the time to hit him while he was down. He immediately clenched his fist and smashed it at Yi Yu's head. Yu 11 immediately blocked the attack for Yi Yu. However, she was still hit by Ning Shu's fist and spat out a mouthful of blood. Yi Yu looked at Ning Shu with a pair of red eyes. His eyes were filled with hatred. Because he was absent-minded, he was attacked by the spirit body. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His expression became much weaker, and he took out a medicinal pill and stuffed it into his mouth. Wei Liangyue, you actually dared to attack senior brother Yi. Yin Jiao was furious. She pointed her whip at Ning Shu. Big pervert, you dared to hurt my senior brother. I will make you beg for death. Yu 11 wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. She looked at Ning Shu with a malicious expression. You are courting death. Ning Shu saw that Yu 11 was injured, but she still wanted to protect Yi Yu. She and Yi Yu had only known each other for less than a day. She already had such deep feelings for Yi Yu? Wasn't this development a little too fast? Logically speaking, how could a woman like Lu Yuan, who was more scheming and seductive, be so devoted to someone so quickly? In fact, Yu 11 had her own selfish motives. She didn't have a way to obtain the senfu. She felt that Yi Yu could obtain the senfu, so she could only help Yi Yu obtain the senfu. Only then would she be able to obtain the benefits. Moreover, she had an inexplicable good impression of Yi Yu. Sherhuidi walked over. She looked at Ning Shu and said coldly, treasures belong to those who are fated to obtain them. Just now you didn't obtain the senfu. Now junior brother Yi has a chance to obtain the senfu. If you want to take advantage of others, you have to go through us first. Ning Shu deeply understood the principle of many hands make light work. He saw that there were 3 women protecting Yi Yu. Moreover, they were women with high cultivations. Wei Liangyue, I will definitely kill you. Yi Yu spat out blood and said in a low voice. See, they want to kill me. I can't just wait for death. Beating a drowning dog is the normal way to go. Ning Shu said with a grin. However, he didn't show any mercy as he punched at Sherhuidi. He had long wanted to take revenge. When he first arrived in this world, he was beaten so badly by Sherhuidi. Sherhuidi knew how strong this person was. The 2 squatting stone lions were easily pushed aside. Sherhuidi took out her long silk dress and wanted to wrap it around Ning Shu's body. However, Ning Shu grabbed the long silk dress and used all his strength to throw Sherhuidi's body away. Sherhuidi crashed into the wall and fell to the ground. She spat out blood, and the blood soaked the silk dress. Senior sister. Yin Jiao was indescribably shocked. She quickly ran over and helped Sherhuidi up. Sherhuidi ate 2 medicinal pills and sat cross-legged on the ground to heal her injuries. Yin Jiao's eyes were red. She originally wanted to roar at Ning Shu. However, after being glared at by Ning Shu, she immediately felt wronged and shouted, how can you treat senior sister like this? Ning Shu was too lazy to pay attention to her. Yin Jiao was really naive. Although she was lively and cute, she always did things according to her own wishes. For example, she always wanted Yi Yu to kill her. But now, she was complaining like this. Did she really think that he should spoil Sherhuidi just because she was his fiancée? Yi Yu saw that Sherhuidi was injured. His originally red and bleeding eyes were now bleeding even more. Yi Yu took a deep breath. He took out 2 medicinal pills from his storage pouch and swallowed them. Today, I want to see who will destroy who. Yi Yu's words seemed to be directed at the possessed soul. However, it also seemed to be directed at Ning Shu. When Yu 11 saw that Sherhuidi was injured, she bit her lips tightly and looked warily at Ning Shu. Ning Shu moved his fist and looked at Yu 11. Then, he threw a punch at Yu 11. To be honest, Ning Shu especially liked the feeling of fighting barehanded. This feeling of punching flesh was the best. When Yu 11 saw Ning Shu's fist, she originally wanted to dodge. However, when she thought of Yi Yu behind her, Yu 11 chose to take it head-on. A spirit artifact that resembled a shield appeared in Yu 11's hand. The spirit artifact emitted a low glow. Yu11 had injected almost all her Yuan Qi into the spirit artifact, hoping that the spirit artifact would be able to block the opponent's fist. It was ridiculous. She was clearly holding a spirit artifact in her hand, but she had no confidence against this man's physical body. Yu11 began to doubt whether Yi would be able to obtain the Senfu. Ning Shu directly smashed his fist against the spirit artifact. Yu11 took a few steps back. Her hand hung limply by her side. The huge force had shattered her bones. Yu11's mouth was bleeding uncontrollably. Yu11 hurriedly ate a pill. Her entire body was dispirited and her face was extremely pale. Even her shimmering peach blossom eyes had dimmed a lot. Ning Shu blew on his fist. This was the pinnacle of strength. Ning Shu understood that the path he would take in the future was to walk the path of strength. He would use strength to break through technique. Ah! Yi raised his head and roared angrily. His hair fluttered, and he instantly erupted with a powerful pressure. Then, he stretched out his fist and met Ning Shu's attack. Ning Shu's heart sank. It seemed that Yi had completely dealt with that spirit body. Moreover, he seemed to have absorbed that spirit body and become even stronger. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw that the core's speed of rotation had slowed down, and its volume had also increased. It seemed that in a few years, this plane would disappear and collapse. Ning Shu thought of the kelp in the sea. If this plane disappeared, the kelp would disappear with it. Ning Shu circulated his qi in his dantian. He stretched out his fist and collided with Yi Yu's. The place where their fists met produced a powerful force. Ning Shu and Yi Yu flew backward at the same time. Ning Shu spat out a mouthful of blood and ate a pill. However, Yi Yu seemed to be fine. It seemed that the current Yi Yu was much stronger than before. However, if they really fought, Ning Shu wasn't afraid at all. Ning Shu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He clenched his fist and looked at Yi Yu warily. Yi Yu's eyes were filled with killing intent. He said coldly, "You have to pay the price for injuring them." Ning Shu chuckled. "This young master can hit whoever he wants. What can you do to this young master?" Yi Yu's face was livid. He clenched his fist and charged at Ning Shu. He fought with Ning Shu barehanded. The surrounding people watched the battle between the two in silence. Both of them were human-shaped beasts. Chapter 279. Ning Shu and Yi Yu couldn't do anything to each other. Every time their fists collided, Ning Shu would feel pain in her internal organs. Yi Yu also felt that his opponent's fists were like rocks, and the bones in his hand were about to shatter. Yi Yu was most proud of his tough body that other cultivators couldn't compare to. He cultivated the ancient body refinement technique, but now a person whose strength and body were stronger than his suddenly appeared. Moreover, it was the person he had always thought was trash. Yi Yu was determined to determine the victor, and he wanted to kill Wei Liangyue. The current Wei Liangyue was like a fishbone stuck in Yi Yu's throat, and he wouldn't be happy if he didn't get rid of him. Ning Shu concentrated her energy in her dantian, and used all her strength to strike at Yi Yu. After their fists collided, Ning Shu could clearly hear the sound of her bones cracking. Her body had become incomparably tough after being strengthened by her energy, but now, her bones had actually cracked. The two of them flew out at the same time. Ning Shu spat out a mouthful of blood and quickly ate an elixir. She mobilized the golden coiling dragon energy in her dantian to repair her broken arm. Although Ning Shu's bones were cracked, Yi Yu's entire arm was limp. It was obvious that his injury was more serious than Ning Shu's. Yi Yu ate the elixir and looked coldly at Ning Shu. "Wei Liangyue, I have underestimated you," Ning Shu said arrogantly. "That's because you are blind. Yi Yu, don't bother about him for now. Refine the Senfu," Yu11 said to Yi Yu with a weary expression. Now that they were in a life-and-death battle with Wei Liangyue, and there were so many people around, it wouldn't be good if someone took advantage of them. Yi Yu made a sound of acknowledgement as he calmed the rampaging vital energy in his body. Then he sent his consciousness into the core. He wanted to place his consciousness on the core. That way, he would be able to control the entire immortal estate. Yi Yu had devoured the soul from before, and had learned many things from it. This Senfu had even more unimaginable treasures. He had to obtain this Senfu, If he could let this senfu evolve and give birth to life, he would be able to become an almighty who could control an entire realm. When Ning Shu saw that Yi Yu was about to refine the senfu, he immediately sent his consciousness into the core and sent out a message. I want you to return to the place where the plane was born. Don't let this man have you. A moment later, Ning Shu's consciousness sent a subtle hint of joy, as if asking Ning Shu if it was true. I can bring you back to the place where the plane was born and let you condense the laws of heaven and earth again. The premise is that you can't let another man have you. Ning Shu knew that his luck wasn't as good as Yi Yu's, and such a fortuitous encounter wouldn't happen to him. He could only use this method. Instantly, Ning Shu felt a connection with this senfu and knew that the senfu had chosen him. Yi Yu's expression changed. Previously, he could still feel a trace of connection with the senfu, but now he couldn't feel anything. Even the core was starting to reject him. Yi Yu reflexively looked at Ning Shu and saw that she was eating elixirs. Yi Yu immediately frowned and looked at her with a scrutinizing gaze. Ning Shu chewed on a large amount of elixirs and rolled his eyes. What are you looking at? Have you never seen someone eating elixirs before? Suddenly, the surroundings turned dark. Everyone instantly lost consciousness and didn't know what had happened. When everyone woke up, they found themselves in a valley. They were no longer in the senfu. Yu-11 asked Yi Yu, "Did you get the senfu?" Yi Yu's face was ashen. Just as he was about to tell Yu-11 that he didn't get the senfu, he heard a loud voice in his dantian. "Yi Yu, I know you got the senfu. Hand over the senfu and I'll spare your life." "Wei Liangyue, the senfu isn't with me at all. Don't slander me. I even suspect that the senfu is in your hands," Yi Yu said coldly as Ning Shu roared. Ning Shu put his hands on his waist and laughed. "I still hope that I got the senfu. If I got the senfu, I would immediately give the senfu to Shihuidi and let her marry me. Didn't your Hongmen sect see that I'm too shabby and don't want to marry Shihuidi to me?" Ning Shu suddenly felt that the joke had gone too far. What if the Hongmen sect married Shihuidi to him? But I don't have the senfu in my hands now. It seems that I and Shihuidi are not fated to be together in this life. Shihuidi looked at Ning Shu coldly. "Wei Liangyue, how are you going to humiliate me? Even if I die, I won't marry you," Shihuidi coldly said. Ning Shu shrugged his shoulders. "Well, even without the crooked tree, I still have the entire forest." Shihuidi vomited a mouthful of blood. She was already injured by Ning Shu, and now she was being humiliated by Ning Shu. She immediately vomited blood. Yu-11's face was filled with astonishment as she asked Yi Yu, "You really didn't get the senfu?" "No." Yi Yu shook his head. Ning Shu pointed at Yi Yu. "Keep pretending. Aren't you just afraid that people will know that the senfu is in your hands? Don't slander that the senfu is in my hands. My cultivation is really not high. I'm only a spirit master. I rely on brute force when I fight. My cultivation and mental strength are not enough to support me to get the senfu." Yi Yu really wanted to vomit blood. He saw that the surrounding people were looking at him with greedy and burning eyes. "What happened? Why are you guys here? Why did the secret realm disappear?" The sect's leading elders came over. Ning Shu found the Tiandao sect's leading elder. He pointed at Yi Yu and shouted, "Elder, Hongmen sect's disciple Yi Yu has obtained the senfu." Ning Shu's words made the various sect's elders' faces sink. The Hongmen sect's elder had an incomparably pleasantly surprised expression. He directly led the Hongmen sect's disciples away. Yi Yu looked at the elder's pleasantly surprised expression and felt an unspeakable bitterness in his heart. Yu-11 saw Yi Yu leave and felt resentful. She really didn't gain anything. She brought the jade tablet, but didn't get anything. But who had the senfu? Yu-11 suspected that the senfu was in the hands of Wei Liangyue. But his cultivation was indeed not high. He didn't have a strong spiritual power to support it. A small fish couldn't swallow a whale. With Wei Liangyue's cultivation, it was almost impossible for him to obtain the senfu. The power of the senfu was too strong. He simply couldn't withstand it. When the sandpiper and clam fight, the fisherman benefits. She didn't know who was the one who hid behind the scenes and obtained the benefits. But she didn't get anything. She was busy for nothing and was even injured. Yu felt so sullen in her heart. She was the chief disciple of the blood-refining sect. She had never been in such a difficult situation before. She was even schemed against like this. Yu vomited a mouthful of blood and could only leave. The secret realm had disappeared. Especially since Hongmen had obtained the Senfu. Hongmen's strength would soar like a geyser. Everyone went back one after another. The Tiandao sect's leading elder had a worried expression. He looked at Ning Su and sighed. I didn't expect you to come back alive. Your father's plan was not in vain. We will go back first. The leading elder Ning Shu said. Ning Shu didn't know how to tell the elder that the Tiandao sect's disciples were all wiped out except for her. Chapter 280. The Tiandao sect's leading elder brought Ning Shu to meet up with the other disciples. Ning Shu saw that the 4 disciples who should have been completely wiped out were fine. You guys are fine? Ning Shu asked in surprise. Lu Qinyang looked at Ning Shu with a complicated gaze and said, We didn't enter the palace. The checkpoint was too dangerous, so we backed out. When they entered the entrance, the first checkpoint was a powerful spirit beast. Without Ning Shu by their side, they couldn't beat the spirit beast at all, so they backed out. They waited outside the palace for Ning Shu to come out. In the end, their consciousness turned black, and they left the Senfu. After such a thing happened, everyone knew that the Senfu had been refined. Lu Qinyang still wanted to get the Senfu, but he didn't even enter the palace. His face was burning. Ning Shu felt that these people were lucky not to have entered the palace. Many people had died in the palace, and their souls had been devoured. They couldn't even reincarnate. Ning Shu boarded the spirit ship, and the others followed. As soon as he relaxed, Ning Shu felt very tired. He had been fighting nonstop in the secret realm, and his nerves were tense. Now he felt pain all over. Ning Shu leaned against the cabin and fell asleep. The others didn't disturb him, but they kept sizing up Ning Shu. Lu Qinyang still wanted to ask Ning Shu about the situation in the palace, but seeing that he had fallen asleep, he gave up. When they arrived at the Tiandao sect, Ning Shu was woken up by the leading elder. The leading elder Ning Shu asked, Was the Senfu really refined by the disciples of the Hongmen sect? Ning Shu nodded without hesitation and said firmly, It was taken away by Yi Yu of the Hongmen sect. Now the secret realm for the disciples of the various sects is gone. There are many treasures in the secret realm of the elders. I heard that there is also a 10,000-year-old spirit marrow. 10,000-year-old spirit marrow? The leading elder's voice trembled. Is this news accurate? Ning Shu shrugged his shoulders. I don't know about this, but it's probably true. The secret realm is really big, and there are many good things, but these places are too dangerous. The more Ning Shu said, the more the leading elder's face sank. If this thing was in his own hands, he would probably laugh his teeth off. But in the hands of others, it was simply scratching his heart, and his heart was bleeding with jealousy. The leading elder sighed. The Hongmen sect is really lucky to be able to obtain the Senfu. It was true that the Hongmen sect had such a talented disciple like Yi Yu. That was their luck. Later on, the Hongmen sect became very powerful. At the time, the Tiandao sect was stronger than the Hongmen sect, but during Wei Liangyue and Shi Huidi's wedding ceremony, Yi Yu came to steal the bride, and the entire Tiandao sect defended Yi Yu. In the end, Yi Yu came back to take revenge, and the Tiandao sect completely withered. Struggling at death's door, it was destroyed in the end. Ning Shu repeatedly brainwashed the leading elder, saying that the Senfu had been refined by Yi Yu. Moreover, Ning Shu vividly described the situation at the time to the leading elder. The leading elder listened to Ning Shu's description and truly believed that the Senfu was in the hands of the Hongmen sect's disciples. Ning Shu glanced at the leading elder, whose face had turned black, and patted his, but before getting off the spirit ship. There were many people in the Tiandao sect's square. Ning Shu saw that Old Man Wei was waiting for him. He immediately walked in front of Old Man Wei and called him father. Old Man Wei's eyes were a little red. It's good that you're back. I thought you would die in the secret realm. I just heard that 2 disciples died this time. I thought something had happened to you. Father, I'm fine. It's all thanks to the flash wind eagle that you gave me this time. Ning Shu spoke to Old Man Wei as he walked towards his room. Father, do you know how to set up a barrier? I have something good for you. Ning Shu closed the door and asked Old Man Wei. Old Man Wei waved his hand. Father doesn't want your things. You can keep whatever you have. It's really good. Ning Shu saw Old Man Wei's expression that said, I don't care about your junk. So he took out a box from his storage bag. Old Man Wei saw his son's serious expression and waved his hand to set up a barrier. Okay, open it and see what good stuff it is. Old Man Wei teased. This is the first time you've given me something. Ning Shu opened the box. Inside the box was a snow-white fruit. The fruit was surrounded by a complex halo. Old Man Wei didn't pay much attention to it before. Obviously, he didn't think that his useless son couldn't take out something good. But when he saw the fruit, Old Man Wei's eyes widened. He quickly closed the lid and said warily, Put it away. How did you get this thing? Father, you're pressing down on my hand. Ning Shu said with a wooden face. Her thumb was pinned down by Old Man Wei's strength. And Old Man Wei even pressed down hard. It was really fucking painful. Old Man Wei. Ning Shu gave the fruit to Old Man Wei. After thinking about it, he also gave Old Man Wei a spirit marrow crystal. Father, I picked this up. It's for you. Old Man Wei looked at the spirit marrow crystal, and his eyes almost popped out. He quickly put it away and lectured Ning Shu. You can't take these things out casually, okay? It's too precious. If someone sees it, they'll kill you and steal it. Ning Shu nodded. Seeing that Old Man Wei just put the thing away, he said, Father, you should eat the fruit. It's safest when it's in your stomach. It's a waste to eat the spirit fruit like this. I'll eat it after refining it into a pill. Old Man Wei still couldn't bear to eat it. Ning Shu didn't think that refining it into a pill would be good. If the refining failed, the fruit would be gone. It was better to eat it as it was. Ning Shu snatched the spirit fruit from Old Man Wei's hand and stuffed it into his mouth. The skin of the spirit fruit broke. Instantly, a pure essence of the world and a fresh fragrance wafted out. Old Man Wei's heart ached. He swallowed the spirit fruit in a few mouthfuls and even opened his mouth wide, wanting to suck the overflowing spirit energy back into his stomach. Ning Shu, I'm going into seclusion. You take care of yourself. Old Man Wei's aura was fluctuating. It seemed like he was about to break through. Ning Shu nodded. I know, Father. Be careful when you're in seclusion. Yes, Father knows. I'm much more energetic now. It seems like I have to go out more in the future. I can't always hide in Tiandao sect. Old Man Wei sighed. I'm so jealous to be able to get something from my son one day. Father, set up a barrier in my cave. I want to go into seclusion too, Ning Shu said. Old Man Wei set up a barrier in front of Ning Shu's door before leaving. When Old Man Wei was far away, Ning Shu took out the senfu. The senfu was in her palm. It was only the size of an ice cube. It was quite magical that such a big plane had shrunk to this size. Ning Shuchao said to 2333, Let's send this plane back. Since he promised the plane, he had to send it back. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.